Hello, and welcome to episode 195 of Flix in the Six. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Costanzo, with me for always, the man, the myth, the minstrel, and that's 5 descriptors of Alessandro Bielsi. Say hello, Al.
A handshake is available upon request.
On this week's episode, I'm so glad that we're going to get to talk about that. On this week's episode, we got trailers, a terrible choice, major SNL departures, phallic flowers, which the autocorrect turned into Phallic flowers. Acolyte update, because it was like, surely you didn't mean phallic flowers.
When you say phallic, do you mean like folic acid or like like follicle of hair?
Folic acid. All before diving into our flick of the week, Monty Python and the Holy Grail. But first, Al, what are we drinking?
We are drinking Southern Tier Brewing Company's live session pale ale. Unfortunately, Southern Tier tends to be a little skimpy on the details on their beers, but this is 5.5% alcohol by volume. Unfortunately, it's only 12 ounces. It's got a sweet little microphone on the side to denote
I do like that microphone.
Live session.
It's classy.
Rendered in great detail. It's brewed and canned by Southern Tier Brewing Company in Lakewood, New York. We've done several Southern Tiers on the show. I dig the brewery. I think they're a good, solid brewery.
Yeah, they're pretty solid.
Obviously, of Pumpkin fame for those in the wider world. But I've probably had, 10 or 15 of their beers over the years. I've had a bunch of the seasonals, the ones that are permanent or semi-permanent. I dig it. They make solid beer. Yeah,
they're pretty consistent. I feel like there's I haven't had one that's been like, oh my god, but I've not had they're like a consistent good beer.
Yeah, they're all around. They're consistently like 6.5 to 7 out of 10.
Yeah, which is great, which is fun. That's great. Yeah. Do your thing. Before we get into this, that microphone on the side, just a quick aside here. I like a good microphone that captures well, reduces some outside noise. I feel like our microphones do a pretty decent job of this. Way back when I was looking for mics, and I started going down like just this ridiculous rabbit hole of what is out there and what it's exhausting. Yes. The whole audio, everything is, I hate it. Mm-hmm. I hate it. I also don't hear very well. So it's just not for me. Whereas like visual fidelity, I'm very much about.
Yeah, I have the double whammy of not having great eyesight nor having great hearing. Although in both cases, it's like very selective. Like some things, like I have incredible like attention to detail. Like when I'm driving, I can see everything that's going on. I feel like I have field of view, but I cannot read road signs honestly from like afar.
Really?
Yeah, like
I had no idea.
No, I mean like if I'm on the highway, I can read like those, but like streets, I struggle with that until I get like fairly close sometimes. Okay. But like I'm not going to hit anyone. Like I see everyone and everything in fine detail. It's just like I can see that the road sign is there. I just can't always see the words on it until I get closer.
There is a sign there that needs to convey something to me.
I just don't know what it's trying to convey me. Yeah. Same thing with hearing. So, sometimes, I will be talking to someone face to face and I just flat out the words haven't gotten into my brain and like disassembled into my brain to be functional as words for me to recognize. And yet there are times when I am like a football field away and it feels like I can hear people in clear detail. And it's like, what is going on here?
I definitely find it easier to understand what people are saying when I'm looking at them.
Oh yeah. Cause you start to naturally lip.
Yeah, for sure. It's crazy. Eyesight, weirdly, like I feel like my eyes should probably be bad, right? By all accounts, all of the staring at screens that I do for my entire life, my eyesight is tremendous. And I've just never had an issue.
Yeah.
It's very bizarre.
My problem is like one eye is like kind of farsighted and one eye is kind of nearsighted. So together they work in conjunction.
So you need a monocle.
I guess I probably could get away with it. Yeah. Also astigmatism that is inconsistent for me. So
well, I'll drink to that.
Cheers.
I'll drink to astigmatism. Cheers.
You muted yourself.
I did. I don't understand. Last week I got a great clink.
Yeah, this time it was just a thud.
It was a thud and the sound went off.
That more had to do with where you struck it. I stand by what I said.
Yeah. What a consistent beer.
What a consistent beer.
I will go. I don't know what I'm tasting. Did you say what was in here, or did it not have much about that?
No,
that
zero detail as always.
Yeah, it tastes like liquid.
But no, I mean there is something that kind of I noticed like bloomed on the palate as it settled. Something very fresh. Like that's the thing that I like denotes to me is very fresh.
It's weirdly like kind of like the rind of some sort of citrus fruit.
I can see that.
That's what, or either that or like the rind of a watermelon. There's like because like it almost feels like the bitterness is not like hoppy as much as it is like pithy from a fruit like that. But it's
I could get some of that. I get some of that after effect on my tongue of like the way that like after you like chew on some grapefruit or something like that.
Yeah, that's interesting. I like it.
Yes, not as hoppy as I would have thought. I mean, it's a pale ale, not an IPA, but still, it's not super hoppy. It's nice, and I think it's well balanced.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like I feel like it's super crisp when it hits your lips.
Yes,
and then dries out all the way down. Very interesting. I dig it. I'm gonna go 2 thuckles on this one.
I think that's the right call. I dig the color. It's light golden in color, nice, crisp, and clear. It had some pretty excellent head retention. I had a thick batch of.
Yeah,
hey, look, there's that red chair. It's on the side of my glass.
Hey, we found him.
I was right. It was hiding in the foam, but against the side of the glass.
Look at you.
Final note on the beer. I dig the can art. Simple, but kind of fun.
Yep. Simple yet effective.
Little like swirls, spirals. I guess that's supposed to be sound waves, right? Like old school radio sound waves.
I would assume so. It's like as if the sound is coming off the microphone. I maybe adjusted where the and made that actually what's happening, but that's kind of what I get out of it.
Because it looks like it's coming out of the logo in the center instead.
Yeah.
It reminds me of like it's got to be like the radio waves from like old school cartoons, where like they would have it like when like you would see like a radio sitting on someone's desk and the speaker would start seeing those waves emitting to let you know that someone was speaking from inside of the radio.
Yeah. Classic Paul. Oh man. Yeah, right on. Good stuff, Southern Tier. I'll dig it. I could see. I don't know. This is gonna sound like I'm ragging on the beer, but I'm not. Occasionally, I remember like back in the day when we used to socialize, that like going to a bar and them not having like a tremendous selection, but they have like 1 or 2 beers that are not like Budweiser, and it's like, well, by default, I will be grabbing that. And I feel like in some of the places, in a lot of the places that I have been when I was in the city that were like that, it was like Lagunitas IPA was like what was like probably like the better thing that you can grab.
Little something, right?
Yeah, and this reminds me of like that kind of beer where I could see like they don't have much else on tap, but this is not offensive, and it's there, and I could drink this a few of these while we're playing some darts or having some extra wings delivered. You know what I'm saying? Like it's
Southern Tier is definitely one of those sorts of beers. Like was it the 2-time IPA, right? Like that's definitely one that you find on a 2-handle like type of bar.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. You get it.
I do.
You get it. I painted a picture, and you saw it vividly, and I appreciate that.
Suffice to say, I'm picking up what you're putting.
I take it. Oh man, going out, crazy. Al, you want to get in some news and nuggets?
Absolutely.
All right, so why don't you kick me off with some trailers?
Okay. Well, let's start with the one that's freshest in your mind, which is the one you watched 90 seconds before we started recording.
I did. So the second trailer of Thor: Love and Thunder.
I guess this is technically the first official. The first one was a teaser, although that word is
really
like ceased to mean anything now because that was like a 2-minute long teaser.
Yeah, that's weird. So this one, surely I'm starting to get better at retaining things. So I think maybe going forward, I'll remember things that we talk about in previous episodes. I think my mental capacity is coming back. However, I do not recall knowing that Christian Bale is in this movie.
Well, it was long rumored when this movie was first getting cast, but that was in the time of like the start of the pandemic where like oh, who even knows when this movie is going to get made type of thing. So I don't blame you for forgetting because frankly, there hasn't been a lot of talk about this movie other than the Natalie Portman stuff for the last year and a half. But yeah, it was a big deal when Russell Crowe and Christian Bale were added as part of this cast. But it was like 2 years ago. So
cool. All right, that makes me feel better. The character looks bonkers. That's pretty cool. I don't know anything about. Was it Gore?
It's Gore the God Butcher. Yes.
So that'll be fun. I always wonder, as you know, we're 1,000 movies into the MCU at this point, so like I always curious about like I don't know what kind of villain are you going to be able to throw at me this time, and I was like, oh, okay, a very specific one, and I was like, I think that'll work because it's all too grand in like the previous movies, and now it's kind of like it seems like narrowing focus, which should make it a little bit more, like directed at our protagonist. So it could be cool, especially if they're bringing in his first love back as another Thor, and I'm sure there's going to be some worrying there of this creature monster thing going to kill her and vice versa. So that'll be fun.
I also wonder, I think this might be a classic case of trailer misdirection. My suspicion is this is going to be one of those. I'm trying to think of a good example. I know there's a million movies that have done stuff like this, and yet I'm failing to think. Oh, how about this kind of a random pull? Did you ever see the movie Killer Elite? Jason Statham, Clive Owen, Robert De Niro.
It feels like a movie that I have seen and then freed up space.
Okay,
in my mind.
I really enjoy the movie. I'm not saying it's the greatest thing in the world, but I think it's a solid little action thriller.
Okay.
But just like the type of movie you put on, it's like this is a good time.
Yeah.
But the gist of it was
action?
Oh yeah, big popcorn energy for sure.
Big pop coming in here with that big popcorn energy. I like that.
You remember how that was the pitch for this show before we started the show? Yep. Let's pick a couple of movies that you could sit down and enjoy a bowl of popcorn with. That was the initial elevator pitch of this show. We're going to talk about 3 movies a week.
3 and immediately, like almost instantly upon first recording, realizing that we bit off more than we can chew. Much like my son bit off that piece of lamb at Easter.
I forgot about that. Sorry. That was a weird, wild tangent, which we love, but I almost lost the thread entirely.
Wild tangents back.
I know. I almost lost the thread entirely, though. That tangent was too wild. So anyway, the premise of the movie was, I think it was supposed to take place in like the 1970s or 80s. It's these 2 professional criminal mercenary types who operate overseas. It's Robert De Niro, Jason Statham. Robert De Niro is the mentor, blah, blah, blah. They go for this job. Jason Statham decides it's his last job. He can't do this anymore. Robert De Niro is like, I still got to feed my family, blah, blah, blah.
Gets pay the bills.
Yeah. Gets kidnapped by someone that was pissed off by them. They hold him hostage for Jason Statham. Jason Statham's got to go kill 3 people who had offended this like Omani oil baron or something like that. He goes off to kill these like British soldiers who had killed his sons in war or something like that. And each of these guys had connections, friends in high places, and Clive Owen is kind of their muscle on the ground who kind of takes care of everyone. And he starts going about the purpose of protecting these people from these hits that he thinks are coming, which he's correct to think are coming. And I'm wondering if that's what this movie ultimately is going to be about. That's a really long and roundabout way to say. I don't know that he's going to Gore the God Butcher is going to be coming after Thor per se. I wonder if Thor is going to realize that gods are turning up dead and he's trying to go and suss out who's doing this and protect it. I wonder if this whole Zeus thing, because it seems like that's who Russell Crowe is playing, which I didn't realize Zeus was in this, but I guess it makes sense. We got Egyptian gods, we got Norse gods. Why not have some Greek gods? I thought the Greek gods was more of a DC thing, right? Because that's the thing that we've seen with like Ares was in it and everything, but it looks like Russell Crowe is playing Zeus.
Well, I mean, if DC has taught me anything, is that there's room for Marvel to take it and do it better. So
absolutely. Totally. Considering Zeus is largely...
They have gods, and DC and Marvel's like, that's cute. Allow us.
I'm actually not sure who did that first or who did it better in comics and this, that, and the other thing, and I don't really care, to be perfectly honest. What matters to me more is what happens on screen. And
the chicken or the egg conundrum about gods, that's pretty wild.
Yeah, right? That's self-referential, I guess. But I think Zeus was, I don't want to say not on screen in the DC, but just kind of only in like narration. Wasn't he in that whole thing in Wonder Woman about Ares where you see him just like in the flashback scene or whatever?
Yeah. So yes, I don't really remember.
I think someone important played him, but it didn't matter because you just saw him like his face CGI'd onto a body or something. Sure. But anyway, I wonder if this is gonna be one of those things building up to some lesser gods get knocked off, and Gorr's really going for Zeus, the heavy hitter, and Thor's trying to protect him, type of thing. And Zeus obviously doesn't believe in it, blah blah blah, and turns into this whole big Titanic struggle. That's gonna be my guess.
And then like comes down to it, like, okay, I could see your point. Actually, Zeus is pretty terrible,
but
however, you can't just go around killing people on a whim.
Gorr, you can't just go around
people on a whim, Grandma.
Gorr, the God Butcher, you can't just go around butchering gods for the fun of it.
Gorr. There was some pretty cool stylistic stuff going on with the scenes with Gorr. I think it was fighting Valkyrie, maybe, or was it Jane? I'm not even sure, but it was
both.
It was like all variations of like white and gray, but the pop of color was coming from the outfits of the person that Gorr was fighting.
That specific scene, actually, I don't recall, but I do recall that it seems to be going black and white, and I'm really curious as to how and why that's going on. But it was a scene of him and Thor, or at least it seems in trailer language like the two of them are facing off, like camera cut to one, camera cut to the other, and all in black and white, which is really cool. I'm curious to see how that's gonna play out on screen,
but not like
color is gone.
Classic black and white. It was like highlight, like lots of white highlights, like versus like the opposite, like where the darkness is kind of there. It's I don't know how to describe it. Like color taken out of it versus it being shot in black and white. It's a weird. It's strange. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I'm in. I'm always going to be in for these movies now after Ragnarok. Also, what I'm really curious about too is the Guardians. I assume maybe it's just going to be like a little bit of an opening fun stuff, maybe 10-15 minutes, and they're probably going to fuck off. This is my guess.
That's my guess too, but I'm glad because that's what they set up at the end of Endgame, and I get if they're not going to be in the whole movie, but I like that we're going to carry that even if it's just to pass a baton to the main story. I don't know. I love seeing that crew. I thought the dynamic was interesting with all of them. I think it would be cool to hand off that to, hey, Guardians 3 is still way down the line, but maybe we get a nod as to what direction that goes in eventually.
Right.
And just seeing them all have some fun together would be cool, even if it's only for a scene or two.
Yeah, I do wonder if they'll come back at some point later in the movie.
That wouldn't be surprising either.
Yeah.
This still further blurs the lines, though, as I mentioned 2 weeks ago, about my confusion as to multiverse versus outer space versus the realms. I'm still very confused by that.
Just like, shh, look over here.
Look at all these colors.
Too many questions.
Hey, look at this absence of color.
Every time Al starts asking questions, they're like, "Oh, it's their Korg on the screen. It's Korg." You guys got what were we talking about? Doesn't matter. Oh man, I'm pumped. What's the date on that?
I think it was July 23rd.
Fantastic, man. All right, so the only movie that I haven't seen then is Multiverse of Madness, so I have to just get that in beforehand. Hopefully soon. Really want to do an episode on it.
Yes,
it's been a minute since we've done. I was going to say it's been a minute since we've done a Marvel movie, but we did Eternals. But it's come up in my mind recently that movie or that. I'm assuming it's going to be another set of movies. But I was like, man, that wasn't. I didn't like. It was not good. Eternals.
It's not great.
Kind of just there.
I'm still not entirely sure what it was about. It didn't help that I fell asleep on it, but I'm still not 100% sure. Like, big picture, got the gist of the whole. Yeah. Like Titan, well, not Titan, but like whatever it was, Celestials trying to birth Celestials out of the planet. But beyond that, like that's the 50,000 foot view. I'm cool with that. Got it.
Yeah.
Getting down to like the 10,000 foot view, I don't really remember what the movie's about.
And then at the end, they like a character shows up, and it's like I feel like it was supposed to be a moment where I was supposed to be like, "Oh shit!" And I'm like, we're introducing somebody. We're like, we've got 10 seconds left.
Well, it wasn't that person. That character had been in the movie, right, through like flashback, right?
Or was he? Person? I don't remember.
Was it the Celestial?
No.
Oh, that was in the post credit though, wasn't it?
Oh, was it?
Yes.
And it all kind of blurs together for me. Really, when it comes down to it, was
Warlock?
Not that.
Wasn't it Adam Warlock?
No.
Adam Warlock and that leprechaun?
Oh, maybe?
Is that a fever dream? That's not a fever dream, right? That
Warlock
happened.
Eternal? Is that...
Adam Warlock was teased at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Yeah, I remember that. That's not who we were seeing, though, was it?
I'm pretty sure. Or at least that's who he says he is. There's some rumor and speculation it's not actually him, but that, if I recall. But that's who he announced himself as.
Oh, okay. Cool. Who was it? Wasn't somebody well-known playing him?
Yes. I don't remember who, though. That's asking too much.
Yeah, that's really interesting. That movie
was it Harry Styles?
Yes, I think it was. Okay, so that whole thing was like, it was Blade that was teased at the very, very, very end.
Yes.
And then the reveal of of who Jon Snow is supposed to be, who I still don't really know. And the whole thing, I just don't care. I don't care. I hope that they can make me care at some point.
Yeah.
As of now, they've got their work cut out for them. Because at this stage, like I don't subscribe to the whole superheroes fatigue thing. I don't think that's true.
No.
I think what can happen is that you can run out of ideas or not know how to interconnect them well. And it's not superhero fatigue. It's just that like they've set the bar pretty high at this point. You gotta come close to meeting it or surpass it. Otherwise, it's just, I don't know, just gonna fall flat. And that's kind of what happened with Eternals.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Like, Chloe Zhao, right? She's a good director, so I don't get why the movie is bad. It felt like, is it a studio interference thing? Is it a studio indecision thing? Did they not get her a good script?
Yeah. What did she direct? It was Eternals, Nomadland, which I did not see,
but won Best Picture.
Okay. So that was the thing. You said Chloe Zhao is a good director, or so I'm told.
I'm told Chloe Zhao is a good director.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. How about that? Is that more?
Yeah, that's
accurate. Okay.
Yeah. From what I've seen, which is just the one movie, I can't say that for sure.
Yeah.
I can't say that at all from the one movie that I saw.
Fair. I just know that considering how well managed most of the Marvel movies are, that one seemed to have been poorly managed.
Yeah, which is odd, right? Especially since it was the one coming in after a large gap.
Yes, and had a long time to work on it.
Yeah.
And had a director who has a good reputation attached to it, and had a director who, unlike some of the Marvel movies, executed some sort of vision aesthetically in this movie. Like, this didn't just look like every Marvel movie. It had some of its own stuff going on.
Yeah.
The same way that, like, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness had, the way that Thor Ragnarok had, and obviously Love and Thunder will have as well. And all of those movies have pretty big-time directors attached to them, so.
I wonder if, like, on paper in the beginning, they were like, this seems like it'll be good. Let's get the ball rolling. The ball's rolling. They start losing interest in it, and they're like, you know what? We've sunk some money into this. I don't really care that much. Put it out. We'll play the pandemic card. And we'll just move on from Eternals.
But they're not going away. Like, they just won't.
They're going to come back.
Absolutely. With the amount of like legwork they did, with who they cast in it, with how this is going to connect a lot of things that I think are probably going to end up happening over the course of... Because it feels like we're so used to have been built towards something that wherever this phase leads us, this whole multiverse phase, that's not going to probably pay off for another 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Like, we're used to like building towards something coming in like a year or two, and it's like,
that's right.
Actually, realistically, we might get a mini payoff 2 years from now, and then like the big payoff 5 years from now, type of thing. Like, if you consider the timeline of like We had 2 Avenger movies before we got to the 2-part Avengers Infinity War /
I would even argue that we had 3.
You could argue that we had 2.5. It's called 2.5. Yeah. Civil War's 2.5, right?
Yeah, that's true. It's interesting. They fell into a weird trap, right? Because it's the thing that I tried to say time and time again with the DC stuff, and why it didn't work is that you got to earn your Avengers movie.
Mm-hmm.
You got to earn it. You can't just start there. You have to establish characters. You have to make me like them. You have to let them be somebody in their own right, so that when you put them all together, you don't need any of the backstory. You don't need any filling of that stuff out. You can just have these relationships exist because we know who they are. And this just fell into what DC did wrong, I feel like, which is like, here's a whole bunch of characters. It's too much. It's too much all at once. It's not enough time to dive in. It's not enough time to establish anything.
I don't remember if we
said bumpy.
I don't remember if we said it during that episode, but Eternals needed to be a show.
Yeah. That's right. Eternals needed to be a show.
When you consider how many characters are in the movie, but my guess would be their thought was, and this is why I think like they'll be back for sure, is they feel like in this blueprint, those characters, or at least everything around those characters, is going to be super important.
Yeah.
So we needed it to be a movie.
Yeah.
But they didn't do a good job of it because I don't think that story was well fit to a movie template.
Yeah, I think we did say that on that episode, but it would have made a good Disney Plus. Oh yeah, we had said do a series, do like an episode per character, and then a joint episode or 2, like mixing like throughout or whatever you want to do. Just give them each something to build on and understand. But they did not do that.
All I basically got out of that movie was that Druig sucks.
Druig sucks. So does was that the Screen Rant people? I love that.
Yes.
Druig sucks. Was there other trailers that we were supposed to go
Yes, there was one other trailer I sent you the other day. This was technically a teaser, although good luck figuring out why this is a teaser and not just a trailer. But it was for Mission Impossible Part 1. Sorry, Mission Impossible. No. I sent it to you the other day.
I believe you. I think I see it right here.
Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning: Part 1. That's what I was looking for.
So we're doing a Part 1 as the title, like they're doing a 2-parter for this specific story.
We always knew that they were doing a 2-part movie. Well, which is to say, it was announced that they were doing the next movie as 2 parts, that they were filming 2 movies.
Okay, so I understood that as they were just filming them back to back, not that it was like a 2-parter.
Yeah.
But granted, this whole series of them has kind of been very tightly linked, right? So it's fine.
Well, the ones with Chris McQuarrie.
Yeah. Interesting. Should I play it?
That's up to you, man. I saw the trailer.
I'm going to play it for the folks at home. Thanks. Official trailer. Thanks. Here we go. What?
You keep watching that. I'm going to grab another beer.
Greater good or awful. This is our chance to tell the truth. The
okay.
Concepts of right and wrong.
Is that Watson?
For everyone for centuries to come. Fighting an idea that doesn't exist. Never did. You need to pick a side.
Tom Cruise head tilt. Okay. Why does this exist? Next year. Just wait until then to give me an actual trailer.
Well, that confused the shit out of me. I was like, wait, this is coming out next summer?
Does she have a sword? At some point, this is 30% Tom Cruise doing the Tom Cruise run. Oh, a train. Fall back. Sure. We're gonna do that. Do you think that driving the motorcycle off the cliff and parachuting down is some sort of like under the radar thing? I mean, whatever. That's fine. I'll watch that. I like Mission Impossible movies. It's it really is that teaser is just a lot of people running.
It's a Mission
running and then walking.
Yeah, I think what it is like Simon Pegg's like, yeah, I'll come back and do the movie, but I get to run too in this one.
I'm running. I immediately was like, what? When the trailer started, because it just starts off with like horses running in the desert. And I was like, where are we? How are we going to get here? That's always what I wonder with a teaser.
I thought you were going to say, okay, they've really upgraded the whole disguise technology, because one of those horses running is Tom Cruise, right?
It's so true. I watched a video the other day of a guy doing like famous runs from movies, and I was like, surely this is going to be
the top 10
like 2 or 3 runs, and that's the end of the clip. But he's got like a good 15, and they're all spot on too. Before they even say who it is, you're like, oh my god.
I saw something the other day. I didn't watch it, but it was breaking down like the physics of Tom Cruise's running. Like, is he a good runner or not?
Yeah. And what was the verdict?
No, I didn't actually watch the thing. I just saw that it existed.
There is an excessive amount of arm movement. It looks like it's trying to be a silhouette. Like everything's at a perfect like right angle, and it's like swoosh, swoosh, swoosh.
I kind of go back and forth on it, because I feel like it looks like a lot, but it's clean. Like, it's not herky jerky. It's a clean motion. So I'm gonna give a thumbs up, despite not being
a thumbs up
kinesiologist or anything like
that. All right,
so.
You're gonna give this a thumbs up. I'm gonna help you give it a thumbs down. If you slow that down, because of the angles of his knees and elbows, he is a straight up swastika, and it's alarming.
Can't he just be...
Watch it again. Just watch it again.
Can't he just be... What was his name in... what the hell? Mr. Game & Watch? Isn't he just Mr. Game & Watch? Why does he have to be a swastika? Why can't he just Mr. Game & Watch?
I don't know. You'll see. You watch it again. You tell me. Tell me what you see.
It's an unfortunate freeze frame in the shape of a swastika.
I'm cool with this, though. The movie, not swastikas, to be clear.
Yeah, I think that was probably went without saying. But
all right.
I have a question for you, because I obviously don't remember the trailer super well. Like, I remember bits of it. I watched it a couple of days ago now. You just watched it 2 seconds ago. Did you detect in that trailer Cary Elwes?
I wasn't actively looking for him. There's a lot of quick cuts, so.
Well, I would have been very... if you had just turned on the trailer, I would have been...
I get the one scene and I just go, yes! What? No, Cary Elwes!
Not even. Just like click and like you hear the music flourish, and before you put the title card or anything up, and just... I wonder if Cary Elwes is in this trailer. Anthony, I have a question. Do you watch it just assuming that Cary Elwes is going to be in it?
I hope that this becomes the next Diane Kruger for our show. When they start doing cast announcements for any movie.
No, I want to come up with a Twitter bot that anytime a new trailer for a major movie comes out, it's just the Twitter handle. It's just called, "Is Cary Elwes in this?" And it just posts the video, and it just says yes or no.
Oh, that's good.
Did you detect Pom Klementif in this trailer?
Is that his name?
No, that's the name of an actress. The actress.
Oh, it's another person.
Yeah, that's the actress who plays Mantis in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, maybe
she apparently is also in.
Let me see. I'm going to look at what she looks like.
Well, because while watching this trailer, I said, "Ooh, there's Shea Wiggum."
I did.
While watching the trailer, I was like, "Ooh, that's Shea Wiggum. Ooh, that's Haley Atwell. Ooh, that's Vanessa Kirby," who actually I remember having been cast in the movie, unlike the other 2 people I just named. I don't remember seeing Cary Elwes. I don't remember seeing Pom Clement. I believe that they are in the movie. I just don't recall seeing them in the trailer.
Yeah, I don't know that I saw them either. I would have to watch it again now, like with that lens on. But in all fairness, so it is a lot of like quick cutting to people's faces. So,
Well, there's a lot of returning faces that was great to see, like Ving Rhames and Simon Pegg and Rebecca Ferguson, who obviously has become kind of like the co-lead almost in these movies.
Rebecca Ferguson, with and without eye patch. So at some point during this movie, obtains eye patch.
Yes, fact. That was kind of when the day that trailer came up. The funny thing was I didn't see if the trailer was out. I just started seeing a bunch of pictures of her in an eye patch holding a sniper rifle on Twitter, but I didn't recognize it was her at first. And I was like, what is going on with this image?
Rebecca Pliskin.
And like Alan Steppenwolf put something up. It was like, who did it better? And it was like a picture of her with the sniper, and it was a picture of someone else, I forget who, in an eye patch. And underneath, like, everyone was putting other people with eye patches in for their votes. Like, one of them was it Ken in Mad Men, the guy with the eye patch, and there's a whole bunch of other people. I submitted what's her name, Elle from Kill Bill. It's what the hell's her name? Totally forgot the name of the actress, but she's got an eye patch in those. It's a pretty badass look, I think. Yeah, and then I watched the trailer and I was like, oh, that was Rebecca Ferguson from this trailer. Got it.
So I think what they should have done is, so she's using a sniper rifle of sorts in that scene where we see the eye patch. I really wish that it was cut a different way.
Yeah.
And that she was looking down the scope with the eye patch. And I feel like, that would have just been for me, because I don't think anybody would really care or paying attention, but I would have just gotten a chuckle out of that.
Oh, absolutely.
That was cool. That was what a treat to go back to our text messages to find that I missed an entire week's worth of conversations.
Oh, nice.
I mean, that's what happened, right? You sent me that. You sent me Thor: Love and Thunder. I acknowledge that the Thor: Love and Thunder one was sent to me while I was walking outside, and I was like, "Oh, I will look at that when I get home."
Well, at least that one I knew you saw it, because I texted you, did you see the Thor trailer? You said no, and I immediately sent you the link. So, I assumed you saw that you got it, whether or not you watched it.
I think I saw that upon scrolling back, I saw that this mission, I was going to say the James Bond one, the Mission Impossible one was amidst our daily Wordle scoreboard.
Yes.
Volley. Oh, man. That's cool, though. I'm always down for a Mission Impossible movie. They're fun.
I will agree with you, though. It's odd to give us a full-length trailer more than a full year out from... I would have thought, a quick 30-second... I would have expected more like what we got from the Avatar trailer from a couple weeks ago.
Sure.
Concerning that movie comes out, 7 months from now. We got way less in that trailer than we got in this trailer for a movie that comes out, 14 months.
I don't know. I don't think we really got anything out of this trailer.
There was just a lot. I'm not as far as story, but just as far as how many different things were going on, explosions. We're running in the desert. We're running down streets, and we're driving a car, and we're sniping with eye patches on, and there's a lot of different. We even got not story, but we got big theme with the original boss coming and having a big monologue to Ethan Hunt.
Right.
That is way more substantive than anything we got out of the Avatar, which isn't a criticism of the Avatar trailer. I'm just saying, it's weird. I would have expected, the structure of those two trailers to have been reversed. Let's get more from the Avatar trailer that comes out less than a year from now, and less from the movie that comes out over a year from now.
They're probably trying to rebuild some hype around it, and I assume, I don't know, are they done shooting the second part? Because I'm guessing they're going to release them in quick succession, maybe 9 to 12 months apart.
I'm not sure. The intention is definitely a year or less apart, I think. And we'll see what that timeline looks like now with how much extra time it's taken. Obviously, there was a lot of stuff that came out during the pandemic where people were getting mad at Tom Cruise for how draconian the rules were to shoot the movie, but on the other hand, yes, on the one hand, while he was a dick in how he was going about it, I actually got what he was going for. Hey, this is a big, expensive thing. Let's take care of each other, because otherwise we get sick and we can't make the movie. You could be nicer about how you go about it, but
sure,
I don't blame him for going about trying to do that. This is his career, his legacy, and everyone else involved with it. So I get it, and it was during a time where we were all scared.
Yeah, for sure. I'm kind of curious. So maybe you drop this now to remind folks that it's happening, get the hype going again, maybe ride the coattails a bit of the Top Gun movie, which I'm assuming this trailer will play alongside of it.
Yeah,
and
I do think it's weird. It almost is like dueling with that, though. It's not like it's not drawing eyes away from that per se, but it's like it would be one thing if Mission Impossible was coming out 6 months from now, and it's like, hey, you got this thing, and now you're gonna look forward to more of me in that. It's like, well, no, this is a year from now. Like, we're gonna forget by then.
They might be doing some projection stuff, right? Of like seeing how much interest they're gaining with it to see how much money they're going to pump into marketing when the movie is closer to coming out. Would be my guess.
Yeah, I mean, unless it's one of those things where it's like, oh, that trailer was kick ass. You know what? I wasn't really thinking about going to see Maverick, but I need some Tom Cruise in my life. Maybe I'll go see it.
That's another interesting play too, right? Like, yeah, just pulling on that thread and getting folks interested in the opposite direction. Try to boost the sales of Mission Impossible, and then I'm sure there's some sort of metrics monkey that's calculating that with a ridiculous abacus.
Although I'm pretty sure that between the nostalgia and the rave reviews coming out about Maverick, like, I wouldn't think that there'd be a lack of people going to see it.
Oh, I actually haven't read or heard anything. It's positive?
I haven't read specifics as far as like read a full blown review of it, but the sampling of just what the tone of the reviews are is incredibly positive. It's like a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes or something like that. Critic score, not audience score.
Cool.
I don't know.
Did we do Top Gun or
no? Technically, I've never seen that movie all the way through. I've seen.
It's not good.
Yeah, I mean, like I've seen good chunks of it. I've seen some of like the more like the scene in the bar where they're singing and shit. I've seen
of course
the volleyball scene. Obviously, I've seen some of the plane scenes. Like know, But as far as what the story of the movie is, and from what I've heard, there isn't much story to go on. To be perfectly honest, I don't know a ton about all of that, but like I've seen chunks of them. So
we could potentially do a double feature episode of.
We got a couple of those planned now between this and Kill Bill.
Yeah, it's going to require me to actually see some movies.
Correct.
So make that happen. Make it happen. Any other trailers, or can we move on to
the next? those are the two trailers I had for you.
So, what is this terrible choice that you need to share with me?
Okay, this should probably be a quick subject. Where are you? There you are. I saw this online the other day. Totally forgot about it, but I linked it because I knew I was gonna forget about it, and I'm just gonna present you a choice, and I just want your honest answer. Would you choose fighting an orangutan once a year with a sword? Or would you like to fight a chicken every time you get in your car?
These are terrible choices. I think I'm going to go chicken, specifically because I'm fairly certain I would lose and die if I fought the orangutan.
I think the crucial detail of the orangutan is, do I also get a weapon? Do I get a sword?
Hang on. I thought I had the sword. The orangutan has the sword?
Yes.
Chicken. I'm going chicken. I think it's a much easier decision at this point.
I think, if it's just an orangutan, no sword, and you also don't have a sword, you lose, right? Orangutans can kick your ass.
Yeah.
I think if you have a sword and orangutan has a sword, I think you probably have a slight leg up in that situation, but it's no guarantee. Just because I don't know that an orangutan knows how to use a sword. And I'm not saying either of us is trained with it, but at least we have the gist of it down.
I would argue that whether or not they know how to use the sword, they could just drop it at any point and just clap you into oblivion.
Okay, so an orangutan is not Donkey Kong, okay?
Yeah, but they're strong.
Sure, but my point is...
I can take a chicken.
Considering how novice the orangutan is with the sword, I think, obviously, the point here is keeping the orangutan more than arm's length, right? Because if you get engaged in a hand-to-hand combat, you lose. But if you can kill the orangutan with your sword before it can get its hands on you, at least you've got a pretty good chance that way.
Sure. Yearly.
Once a year.
I go chicken, definitely chicken, and then like right when we're about to end the segment, you go, also the chicken has salmonella. Come on.
Yeah, there's nothing about that. I think obviously that the chicken is the right call for you maintaining your life, right? The chances of a chicken kill you seem very small, but God, does that sound just awful? Just awful. And that's I think that's what it is. It's like, okay, I'm going to pick this one, but my life will be hell. I will stop driving my car. I will be walking everywhere henceforth.
Yeah.
Like, oh God, we have to rush to the hospital. Here we go.
Yeah.
Time to
Come
get out
on, you damn bird.
Let's go. Come on. Now, is the chicken from Family Guy?
God, I hope so. Did you end up in this brawl?
5 minutes long, yes.
Oh, man. That's ridiculous. That's it for fun and games this week.
Yeah, right.
Major SNL departures. This one, so I knew the season finale was coming up, and I hadn't watched it yet. I actually ended up watching it 2 nights ago. And I was like, just beforehand, I was looking up to see who hosted, only to the headlines being like, this person, that person, the other person are leaving. I was like, oh damn, like that's a lot of good people leaving. So that took me by surprise. But sorry, caught you at the wrong time there.
Yeah, it's okay. I went like totally opposite, where I just saw a headline of like Kate McKinnon and Pete Davidson and A.D. Bryant and Kyle Mooney are leaving SNL, and I was like, oh wow. And then like a day later, it's like it's the season finale. I was like, oh, look at that.
So, Kate McKinnon one hurts because she's probably my favorite on the show. They did a pretty good send off with bringing back one of her best characters. And did you get to watch it at all?
No, I'll probably go check it out just because it is kind of a big deal.
They do it. That skit actually ends up being the cold open, so you can watch it there. But the character is it's like 3 people in like a U.S. bunker, like secret place where they're doing an interview of folks that have been abducted by aliens. And 2 people have very similar, very like incredible experiences like that, like, harmony, love, all that stuff. And then the Kate McKinnon character has just the most disgusting, raunchy, horrible experience and explains it. She's like this whole like drew the short straw type of situation, and she just goes way off the deep end with every bit of the explanation, and making the people that are interviewing them very uncomfortable.
Has that been a recurring bit, or have they just done it one time before?
I think they've done it. I feel like this might be the 3rd or 4th time it was done.
So I've definitely seen one of those. I didn't realize it was a recurring bit.
There was one. I know one time Lieb Shriver was hosting. Is that how you say his name?
Yeah, I think so. Leave. I'm not sure.
He was hosting, and that one was really good. And I forget who the other. I feel like there was at least one other one. But one of the notable things about it is it's one of those skits where everybody at some point cracks because of how ridiculous her performance is.
I definitely saw one of those at some point. I don't remember who was hosting or if the host was involved with that skit or not, but I remember seeing one sometime, let's call it about a year or so ago.
Yeah. I love that. That's so good.
It was a funny skit.
She cracks me up. I'm the only thing that I'm looking forward to with her being off the show is that she'll probably come back and host at some point. Depending on how her career goes.
That's the thing. Obviously, the headlines here is specifically that McKinnon and Pete Davidson are leaving, but it feels like, and I don't watch super consistently, but it feels like every time I have watched the last couple of years, that the 2 of them don't really feel like they're consistently like major players in the given episodes I watch. Like, it feels like for a long time now they've kind of taken on like an emeritus role. So I guess from that perspective, I'm not surprised they're finally moving on, because it feels like their talents aren't really being used.
Yeah. I know, like, Pete Davidson, like, I feel like he was in a lot of stuff earlier on, and then, like, went through a bunch of stuff, and was like, there was like a hiatus kind of situation at one point, but he was always like, he came back in dribs and drabs. Always did some great stuff as coming on as himself during the Weekend Update, and they did that in the finale as well, which is kind of cool. A.D. Bryant, though, has grown on me over the past like couple of seasons. Really funny. And
every time I see her in something, she cracks me up, and like it just feels like she's in a lot more sketches than the 2 of them are.
Yeah, she seems to be like in everything.
Yeah, the 2 of them are always great when they are highlighted, but like it might be once an episode.
Yeah, but so she has 2 reoccurring characters on the Weekend Update that I love. And the first one is like she's like a young like middle school girl, I think, and Shay is like interviewing her, and she's like all like nervous and like telling her stories and stuff, and she always goes, Michael,
Yeah, I've seen that
Michael?
one.
Those always get me. And then the other one they actually did in the final episode of the season, where her and Bo and Yang do like these trend setters that are like talking about what's in and then what's out. So they go like in and they say like whatever ridiculous thing. Like this last one was like was it in like this thing, in that thing, out the navel orange, and they're just like they rip the navel orange to shreds and then go to bed, bitch.
Oh wow!
And they say like they do this like very over the top thing, and they're dressed ridiculously, and it's just so funny. And they do a really heartfelt moment at the end, to say goodbye to her during that. So that was fun too. But
yeah, she's the one who I'm more surprised by leaving because she feels like she's like absolutely part of the fabric of what they've been doing the last couple of seasons, and like she hasn't really like broken out in any other thing that like it would feel like it would be the impetus for her to leave, you know?
Yeah, so yeah, I hope that she does some good stuff going forward. But yeah, that one was surprising to me as well for the same reasons. But
nothing against Kyle Mooney, but I really could take.
Yeah, he's fine. He's made me laugh a handful of times. I'm pretty sure he does the jacked Grogu that also appears on Weekend Update every once in a while. But that was pretty good. I will say, very disappointed though, because I look forward every time to the season finale when Michael Che and Colin Jost do jokes for each other that the other hasn't read yet, and they didn't do it. And I think it's because they spent a lot of time on Update, I guess, saying goodbye to these different people, like letting them do a segment that I guess they just didn't have time for it. But that is like my like I will watch the entire season in the lead up to that being my favorite thing that happens on the show, and it didn't happen. I was like bummed about it.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense. I mean, especially when you consider, like, I remember last year's being really, really good, like that segment. Mm-hmm. But like they didn't have massive departures like that last year, so like I get why it would get crowded out when they're trying to have a send off to like this is really the core of the cast for the last like 6 or 7 years.
Yeah. So anyway, that was a shock. I didn't realize that was happening. I'm sure there was news of it in advance.
No, I had no idea. It was totally fresh to me this week. So,
all right, Al. Phallic flowers. There's no easy way to transition to this.
Okay, so
it sounds like an SNL skit, actually.
Yeah, this was on Live Science the other day. It was on other publications as well, but stop picking carnivorous penis plants. Cambodian environmental officials plead. Subheading is people picking penis pitcher plant poses problems.
No.
No, yeah, I'm gonna send you this so you can read along.
You can't take yourself seriously and put a headline out like that.
I'm gonna send you this so that you can follow along and also take a look at these flowers because they are grotesque.
Where did you? Oh,
I sent it to you in Skype.
It's about to get loud as I lean into the microphone. All right, what do we got here?
The Cambodian government recently asked people to stop picking a rare carnivorous plant that, when viewed from a certain angle, looks a lot like human male genitalia.
I'm sorry, which angle? Any angle? This is ridiculous.
The Cambodian Ministry of Environment shared images on Facebook of 3 women snatching up pitcher plants and posing with them. The ministry officials requested that members of the public leave the rare plants alone. Cambodian news website the Khmer Times reported, "What they're doing is wrong, and please don't do it again in the future. Thank you for loving natural resources, but don't harvest so it goes to waste." Some news websites have reported this plant is Nepenthes holdeni, but it's actually a closely related species called Nepenthes bocorensis. Jeremy Holden, a freelance wildlife photographer who first discovered N. holdeni, and Francois May, a botanical illustrator who described both species separately, told Live Science. The two are similar in appearance and both only occur on nearby mountain ranges, which may explain the confusion. However, N. holdeni is the rarer of the two species, and only a few researchers know where to find it. My plant grows at a few secret locations in the Cardamom Mountains of southwestern Cambodia. I didn't know.
It sounds like a plot on the board in Candyland.
Yeah, I was going to say the Cardamom Mountain sounds like Candyland. The bocorensis occurs on the far more accessible Phnom Bokor, which has undergone extensive development in recent years. The post
and they're both subspecies of the penis carnivorous.
The posts and photos were responding to a video filmed on May 11th that showed the women picking the plants, according to Newsflare, a website that buys and licenses videos. This isn't the first time the government has issued a warning against harming the phallic and photogenic plants. Senior officials at the ministry asked tourists not to pick either one in a statement in July of 2021 because the activity could drive the plants to extinction. Extinction. Now, the picture of the non-carnivorous one, I think, or the less rare one, it looks like, what's it called from Pokemon, like Weepin' Bell or something like that. Nepenthes plants survive in low nutrient soil by supplementing their diet with live insects, using their nectar and a sweet scent to attract prey. When you smell a Bocarensis pitcher, it smells sweet, just like a candy. This is Candyland, okay. Insects feed on nectar around the mouth of the plants. Modified leaves that, when mature, resemble pitchers.
Not loving this.
When insects fall inside the pitchers, they drown in digestive fluids, and the hungry plants absorb their nutrients. A pitcher plant's phallic resemblance is most pronounced when Nepenthes leaves are still developing and the pitcher is closed. The natural habitats of carnivorous pitcher plants in Cambodia have declined due to agricultural expansion on private lands and the growth of the tourism industry into protected areas, according to a 2021 study in the Cambodian Journal of Natural. May noted that while the phallic appearance of the plants is fun, picking them could jeopardize their survival. If people are interested, even in a funny way, to pose to make selfies with the plants, it's fine. Just don't pick the pictures because it weakens the plant. Because the plant needs these pictures.
Interesting. How much is this really happening that this warning needed to be given?
I mean, apparently it's a very rare plant. So
how many people are running out to the Cardamom Mountains to take pictures with the penis plant?
I prefer the Allspice Valley.
Oh my god, this is ridiculous. So that's interesting. The whole so you know what's crazy to me? Like carnivorous plant, I didn't realize there was more than one. Though it makes sense that there would be.
Oh, there's a lot of different species in Southeast Asia, in South America.
The majority of them, I would imagine, do they do something similar to this, where they like kind of trap things with their sap?
Well, some of them, like the ones that like close.
Yeah, that's like the Venus flytrap, like straight up.
Yes, the Venus flytraps move, which is crazy to me, right?
It's like so cool
because like they don't like plants don't have muscles the way that like creatures, animals, insects, everything has. These I think are the more common type, which they have some sort of sap or whatever that traps it and it just slowly digests it like the Sarlacc pit. As opposed to
over the course of 1,000 years.
Yeah, probably quicker than that, but yes, same principle. The Venus flytrap, I think, operates much more quickly. It's within a couple of days that those things typically, like they seal up, they stay closed for a couple of days, break it down, and then open back up and try and catch the next victim.
No. I vividly remember feeding my Venus flytrap ham.
That's probably not safe.
Yeah. Well,
I never owned one. I do remember being quite young. I want to say 6. And it's when we lived in Vermont, and we went to, there was a big mall in or near Burlington, which we lived pretty close to. Like a good, legit, regular, everyday mall. And then there was this other one that was considered a mall, but it had like some underground sections, some above ground sections. It kind of like there was multiple entrances like from like the street. It was kind of a different situation. It was I've seen things like that in different cities and everything like here and that whatever. But there was a bunch of different types of stores, and we were in one of the stores. I don't remember which one it was. And I think Kelly and Tony might have been up to visit. Maybe Annie Cookie and Uncle Eddie were there too. I don't remember, but definitely at least one of the two, Kelly and Tony, were there. There was definitely a time where Kelly came and visited us for like a couple of weeks. But I want to say it was with Tony when this happened. And we were like going through the store, and they had Venus flytraps there. And she was explaining to me because I'd never heard of it before. And I was like, oh. And so she like took a piece of paper and was like dangling it, and it went and it was just a little plant, and it pitched down on the paper, and like it clamped pretty hard because she pulled it, and like part of the paper tore away. And And it opened back up because it wasn't tangible enough for it to stay closed. It realized it didn't catch anything.
Yeah. They're wild. Like, I had seen it actually, like, something land on it and it actually eat it. And I was like, that's pretty bonkers.
Yeah, I've seen videos of it, like how it works, which is pretty cool. I saw a video where someone did something that they probably shouldn't have done ultimately. Yeah, they, like, pricked their finger and dropped human blood into it. And it, like, digested the human blood, which was weird.
And now it became the monster from Little Shop of Horrors.
Yes.
I bought mine
at
the plant and bake sale in grade school that happened every May.
Interesting.
Around Mother's Day. I also bought a rubber tree plant that
really,
that lasted until maybe I don't know, like a year or two ago. My mom still had it. Yeah.
Did you guys make rubber?
No.
It's disappointing.
Can't say that we did. The thing grew out of control though. It got pretty big, which is pretty cool. But I didn't even realize I was like, what is this funky plant? She's like, that's the plant that you bought me in grade school. I was like, goodness gracious. So good stuff. Cool. What else we got here? Acolyte update.
Yes. Star Wars Acolyte. You remember, was it last year, 2 years ago, during Star Wars Celebration, where they announced like a whole slew of television shows and stuff?
I do.
And this is the one that piqued my interest the most, just because it seemed very different than all the other projects. And so we have an update on the making of that show, with Star Wars Celebration around the corner this weekend, I guess, right?
When is it?
This
it
weekend?
Friday?
I think it starts, well, maybe it starts Thursday technically, but yeah, I think it's this weekend.
Oh, cool.
So this was on comicbook.com. This was Star Wars The Acolyte showrunner teases series martial arts influences. When The Acolyte begins filming later this year, it will be the first Star Wars live-action television series set outside of the Skywalker saga. Though Lucasfilm is keeping most details under lock and key, showrunner Leslie Headland says it'll take fans back to the basics of the original Star Wars trilogy. While it'll follow in the footsteps with what Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni have done with the franchise's other shows in Disney+, the, quote, mystery series will largely be inspired by the samurai and martial arts films that inspired George Lucas in the first. Quote, Jon Favreau said that when you're working in this world, you want to go back to what George was inspired by. There were westerns, and then, of course, Akira Kurosawa samurai films, and the fact that he originally offered Obi-Wan Kenobi to Toshiro Mifune, which, parenthetically, I did not know that was a thing that had happened. Headland said in a wide-ranging interview with Vanity Fair. Because of that, Headland said she wanted to keep things smaller and, quote, more personal. So I actually went more towards martial art films and storylines that are a little bit more personal, less global and galactic. Those warriors were on missions that were deeply personal, with people feeling wronged and having to make it right. Wuxia films and martial art films from King Hu and the Shaw brothers, like Come Drink With Me and Touch of Zen, they're monks that are also martial arts heroes. In a separate piece from the same magazine, Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy applauded Headland's dedication to researching the franchise's Legends lore, formerly known as the Star Wars Expanded Universe. She's a gigantic Star Wars fan, the executive shared. What's wonderful about Leslie is she knows it all. I mean, she's read a gazillion books inside the Expanded Universe. There are little bits and pieces that she's drawing from that no one has explored yet in the on-screen storytelling. The truth is that I, as a major mega fan, came to them with this idea, and I said, I think the best place to put this is in an era you guys have not quite explored yet. They were very enthusiastic. It wasn't that they didn't want to explore the existing world, but I think that they already were, because The Mandalorian and a lot of the other television projects were really relying on legacy characters.
Cool. I mean, I like the idea of a show from a different time that we haven't seen on screen in a live-action format, from somebody who is passionate about. I mean, that is the passion behind the material is what got us some of the great stuff that we've gotten over the past. So, all about this now. This is going to be like old, like Republic era stuff.
Well, they're playing coy with it because is it Old Republic? Is it future? Is it somewhere way the hell out there? My guess is it's going to be Old Republic, or maybe even pre-Old Republic.
I have a theory that one of these things, maybe, I don't know, like how, because like you know how like the games are also going to be canon as well, right? Isn't that the whole plan? So they're doing a remake of Knights of the Old Republic. And now I don't know if that's if it's going to be one-to-one story with how it was, or if it's going to be like updated to fit into whatever this universe is. And I'd be curious if like there's going to be some sort of crossover with some live action show there.
I don't know what the rules are when it comes to
what are the rules?
when it comes to it, like, is it a reboot or is it a remake? Because if it's just a remake,
well, I don't know. I think the problem with that stuff is they just say those words early on when they don't have any details for the other details that they're sharing. So like I can't trust that it is, even if they say remake, I can't trust that it's a remake.
Yeah, because if they're just re-releasing it with an HD sheen.
Yeah, it's not that. It's built, from what I understand, it's a ground up like game, but okay. I don't know if it's a ground up version of what it was.
If they're just remaking it, though, I think that probably exists as a standalone thing. But if they're rebooting it, where it's like, hey, we're going to draw on this heavily, but do our own thing to make it canon appropriate, to me, that sounds like a dangerous proposition, because you may betray the love for the old one, and
I kind of hope
probably put out a lesser product, even like separate from.
Yeah, I kind of hope that it's not tied in, specifically because it was a choice-based game where like different outcomes happen, right? So like I don't see how you could really make something like that part of the canon.
No, that also is a major part of it as well. So to me, I think it would certainly be safer, if you want to build it from the ground up so the mechanics are more modern day, because I know that I've never played it, but I've heard that those a lot of that didn't age well.
I loved that game so much when it came out. I remember being so blown away playing about probably the same way that you were blown away by Mass Effect. I was blown away with this game, and it was like just like the depth and the storytelling and like where you can go with it and all of the things that you could do. I was just like, and it was in the Star Wars universe. It was just so good. I loved it so much. And I at the time, I had never played a game with that mechanic of fighting that it had. And I thought it was cool then. I don't think I'd be interested in playing with that exact mechanic now, because it is a little bit clunky, but it was cool.
I actually don't know what it is, because I've never even seen like.
You would have like your party set, and you would queue up the things that they would be doing. You'd be like, this one's going to go attack, this one's going to heal up, this one's going to shoot blasters, and like you would basically like put these blocks into the queue, and they would be executed in sequence over time. You weren't actually shooting or swinging a sword. You were telling it that this character's going to swing a sword, this character's going to do this character's going to, and they would do those things to the enemies at hand.
Okay.
It's kind of turn-based, but it was a little bit, I feel like maybe just the structure of how they executed it with like the mechanics of queuing up the systems of what your character was going to do was just slightly different.
So there's a similar mechanic in the Dragon Age games where you can basically freeze frame what's going on, and you could hand out a little bit more explicit commands. But then, so you could then either fast forward it, like, but you could control where if things aren't going, you could pause and then scrap that strategy and go for something fresh. Or, you could just pause and wait to see, okay, is this going how I want it to? Okay, continue. Or, you queue up what everyone who you aren't going to be controlling is going to do, and then you pop back into live action. You play as whatever character you wanted to play as, you know what I mean?
Oh, interesting.
But it's fully live action. It's not well, the first game was it was turn-based in the way that like World of Warcraft is, where like it's quote unquote live, but you press different powers to engage combat basically, which I'm not a huge fan of that. But I liked what they did with it in Dragon Age 2 and Inquisition, where you can still pause and do some of that stuff and take a more hands-off like Grandmaster view of it, or you can set them up to do some things and then still play live action. And it's pretty dynamic. My favorite version of it actually was in Dragon Age 2, where on top of just saying, hey, you do this, you do that, you do this, you could come up with some really specific rules for combat for each of your players, where it's like, if this sort of enemy is on the field, use that power or use this item. If the lead character health falls below 10%, use this power, type of thing. Where like it could be offensive, it could be defensive, it could be all sorts of stuff. If
you like really build out a system.
Yeah, if the character's health falls below 25%, drink a health potion. So you don't have to look and say, "Oh God, this character's almost dead. Let me switch to them and drink a health potion." It'll just do it itself because you told it in its rules to do it.
That's cool.
I really liked how it was done, and it sounds like Knights of the Old Republic has a little bit more dynamic version of, in the sense where you don't pause to do it, right? But you just...
Yeah, I feel like as you were selecting, like you pulled up, I don't fully remember, but I think you like pulled up the menu, and when you pulled it up, it slowed down significantly. I don't think it stopped.
Okay.
But it was enough that you could like read through stuff. I don't remember. I really don't remember, but I do remember that you would select the actions that would be taking place, and then once the timing came around to your team, that action would happen in the queue in the order that you've set them up.
Okay.
And then you could scrap it based, like you were saying, like based on like what had happened. You could drop out everything that you've queued up if you realize that like it's falling behind. But that game, I was so enthralled with the actual like the story and what was going on that like I think that if the story wasn't so captivating, that mechanic, the fighting mechanic, may have ended up taking away from it, because it's not like my style of play.
No,
but
I'm
either. Super interested to see what they do with this remake, and hopefully that it's a little bit more hands-on to play.
Yeah, I would be cool. Like if it doesn't have to be Fallen Order, but if it was something even remotely, if there was some sort of way that they could intersect like Fallen Order with Mass Effect, as a gameplay style, that would be...
Man, the other day I almost started playing Fallen Order again.
I've thought about it some too, but I literally haven't even sat down just to play something on my own in like 2 or 3 weeks.
Well, that's the thing. I know that I won't complete a playthrough, so I'm holding off to a time where I'll have a little bit, like I'm thinking maybe holiday season 22. I might.
Yeah, you could probably knock it out during the holidays, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I don't want you to think I've just been blowing you off. I haven't even played anything on my own in I think it's been 3 weeks now.
It always says that you're playing Dragon Age.
It's Dominic.
I figured that.
Yeah. No, because we just share one Xbox Live account. I'm sure he's been playing a ton. It's been over 2 weeks. It's been probably almost 3 weeks since I've sat down to play something. We played Halo 2 weeks ago, the first day that you texted me, but it was the group of us playing. So so other than that, I haven't played any video games at all in a couple of weeks.
Well, speaking of, I think that's it for the news and nuggets. We could probably dip into consumption.
Yes, I believe that is all of my news.
So, on that Halo note, I've the last few weeks, once a week, I've had a chance to sit down with a couple of coworkers and play for an hour or so, and it's been a blast to get back into playing some Halo multiplayer. I love it, and I'm finding a new. It's slightly different. It's my version of playing the multiplayer has evolved over time. When I was younger and I was into it, I was playing it every night, and I was super competitive and constantly trying to max level and stay there. Now I do not touch ranked things. I don't have the time for it. I don't care. I just want to play and have fun. So
I'm gonna interject quickly here because I'm gonna say it's a lot different. And to be fair, the last Halo I played concurrently when it came out was Halo Reach, but I told you, I think I mentioned on the show 2 months ago, me and Brian were playing some online together, and I'm flat out bad at that.
So I think you'd probably have fun with us. So we play a lot of. So we basically bounce between 2 modes, or unless there's too many people in the party, then we'll have to go big team battle. But we bounce between playing quick play, which is just kind of unranked fun team-based games, whether it be Slayer or Oddball or King of the Hill or Capture the Flag. It cycles through and just picks one of those games out and you play it, right? We cycle between that and Fiesta, which is my favorite game. Which is
I don't know Fiesta.
Every time you die, you spawn with 2 different weapons.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
And it's just it's luck of the draw. You could start off with just this garbage weapon. You could die and come back with which has happened to me. Or you could die and come back with a rocket launcher and spike cannon, and it's just great. It's a lot of fun, and it's just because there's so many. There's 8 people. It's 4v4. and everybody is spawning with 2 different weapons, it's just chaos. Because
and especially once everyone's been dying some, there's just a random assortment of weapons.
There's just so much going on. Oh, and you also start with an equipment as well. So whether it be a drop shield or a dash or a grapple shot.
That's the other thing is I didn't really figure out 100% the HUD or like the equipment stuff when I was playing, which I'm sure that would help increase my ability like 5%.
You play a little bit, you'll get there.
We were playing some, but the problem was like he like couldn't even really fully explain to me what was going on, and I'm like, but you're the one who plays this. Like, we were playing mostly Big Team Battle, which I've always loved that game mode for whatever reason. I think, especially when you like incorporate, it's not just Slayer. Like there's more modes than I remember there being. I actually really enjoyed. I forgot the name of the mode now, but it's the one where you have to grab the power cells and like
stockpile.
I actually really liked that mode. I thought that was kind of fun, like the strategy of it.
Yeah.
The action like can wax and wane back and forth and stuff like that, and I like that mode a lot. Actually,
me too. Like that's my favorite of the Big Team Battle ones because you could play different. You could play to it in different ways. Whether you're going to get cells, defending your cells, or you're the pirate that's going to go steal cells from the other base, which is what I try to do.
I felt like even when I was in a bad rut where I wasn't fighting well, I felt like it could still be useful in that.
You can contribute, yeah.
Whereas in like when it's just Team Slayer, considering I was just doing terribly, I felt like I was just purely dragging.
What I liked about that stockpile one is finding out that the I think it's the Razorback, is the Warthog that doesn't have any weapons on it, has 2 slots on the back that you could slot power cells into. So if you're by yourself, you can just drive that thing over to it, put 2 cells in it, and drive it back.
I haven't seen anyone do that, which isn't to say they weren't, but I don't recall witnessing that. The big strategy I've noticed everyone do, which doesn't 100% make sense to me, is people just grabbing them and throwing them. Them. Like, to me, like it made sense where, like, in the maps where you have to go way around to get up onto the base, if there's someone waiting on the base and you want to throw it up to them, that makes sense to me. But, like, people just running through the map, just, like, throwing it 50 feet, or they don't throw it 50 feet, it's a problem. They throw it, like, 15 feet and then go pick it up and throw it. I'm like, just run with it, dude.
Right. Having the ability to put them on that. I mean, you got to time it right and be in the right position for it to work out. But if you can, it's, high risk, high reward. If you can do it, you're coming away with 2 instead of 1, which is kind of nice.
I've seen other people like, you grab one and then hop on the back of someone else and get escorted back. If that makes sense to me.
Well, if you think about, if you do this right, if you go with the Razorback and you load it up with people, they can each grab one. The driver can put 2 on the back. You could basically fill the base.
Okay, I don't think I've even noticed that vehicle then, because I was thinking of like the Mongoose, right? Where
the Mongoose is a 2-person one, yeah. The Razorback is a Warthog that is basically just a minivan. There's
I've actually seen that one.
There's no gun on the back of it.
It doesn't seem ideal, but
no. But I've gotten a couple splatter kills with it, and it makes me happy.
Nice.
There's this one Fiesta match that pops up every once in a while in this fairly like medium-sized map, but it also has vehicles, and it's kind of tightish quarters, so like it's pretty easy to destroy the people in the vehicles because you can duck away into some good spots and take them out. But as soon as that one starts, I'm like, well, this is already going to be chaos because everybody has every different weapon that there is. Somebody's probably got a rocket launcher. 3 people may have rocket launchers. Who knows? I'm going to fly this Banshee and see what I can do. And usually it doesn't end well, but I usually get at least 2.
What is that thing that's basically like a Harrier jet?
Hornet?
I don't remember. All I know is I played on the one map on Big Team Battle, like where that was. I had no idea it was a thing. I didn't know it existed. Didn't know it was on that map. And then all of a sudden, this thing came screaming out of the sky and murdered the shit out of like a slew of us. I was like, "What the fuck was that?"
Yeah,
and I didn't know where it spawned. I didn't know how people were getting it. Like I was just like I just felt like an ant who like there are people walking around trying to stop them, and I'm like, "Holy shit!" And then I was just happened to be running behind the base at one point, and it spawned on our base, and the enemy tried to go steal it, and they were going to have 2 of them. I was like, no fucking way. I will literally die in real life before you get this. Killed them, stole the thing, and I was like, okay, I don't even care if I do good with this. The point is I just can't let the enemy have 2 of them at the same time because we are just going to get demolished. Flew around with it a little bit, got a couple kills. It's like, oh, this is kind of cool. And then someone used a grapple shot and launched 150 feet into the air and stole it from me. And I was like, How is that even possible?
Yeah, I that's my move. So whenever I see somebody in one of those things, my only objective now in the game is to get it from them.
Well, that was the problem. Is I didn't know the grapple shot existed until that moment.
You do have to be like not close, but relatively close to actually pull that off.
So what I think happened was I was near to the base and the guy did it, but he must have hooked onto me right before I jetted away.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
It took like 10 seconds for him to actually get on the thing, and I was like, "Where did you come from?"
So I've had a lot of fun with that grapple shot, and I will grapple jack the driver out of a warthog with 2 enemies in it, drive the warthog
off the cliff
map, jump out of it, and grapple shot back onto the map.
That's so great.
Yeah.
That is hysterical.
When you can pull it off, it's so fun.
That is hysterical. You should clip that every single time and send it to the 2 guys who died.
Yeah, definitely. The other day, I was playing this one match, and it was just chaos going on the other side. And I was like, oh, I'm so far away. And I just chucked a grenade, and then I just went about my business. And then, like, 5 seconds later, it was like triple kill. I was like, what? And I guess everybody had weakened each other over there in like this Rumble Pit match. And it's so much fun. I love it. It's a fun game, especially to play with friends. That's one of my consumptions. What do you have?
Let's go with what I've been consuming tonight. So for dinner tonight, I had basically like homemade Mexican street tacos. We had a little bit of like, it was like flank steak or London broil or something like that, and with some sort of steak seasoning, like, one of those like pre-mixed steak seasonings, like diced up pretty small, cooked with that, the little mini rounds, some guac, some black beans, cheese, lettuce.
Delightful.
I found, I went out and got my brother had gotten my dad for Christmas this like hot sauce challenge thing where it came with a bag of chips. It was like fairly plain, like salty chips, but with like some lime on it. And you try one of each chip with different sauces, like 9 sauces from not very hot to quite hot. And so I went out and grabbed, I think it was number 7 out of 9. It was a Chipotle hot sauce, and threw some of that on there. And nice little treat for dinner, to cram some street style tacos into my mouth. And I'm hungry.
Kind of hungry now that you mentioned that. I had it was more of like a fusion thing, but it was like Korean barbecue Phallic tostadas.
Wow, that's a sentence.
Yeah. And it was delicious. Like
that meal was a sentence.
It was like marinated shredded carrots in like rice vinegar as like a base that was going to go on. So like toasted the tortillas, put that carrot slaw that on top of that, cooked the Phallic in just a quick pan fry, and then added the Korean barbecue sauce to it. You put that on top of the carrot layer. You put a whole bunch of sauteed scallions on top of that, and it also came with this like it was like garlic and like seeds. It was like dried out like seasoning, but like toasted and dried out. So it was like chunky like toasted pieces of garlic with like poppy seeds and some other stuff in there too, maybe some sesame seeds. Sprinkle that all over the top of it. It was
sounds fantastic.
I love food.
We both had some pretty excellent foods. I also would like to show what I've been drinking.
You son of a bitch.
And can you see what's on that?
Yeah, I can see it. I knew what it was before it was in frame.
I think the last time I had this, I did this to you.
You do this to me every time. I will say, I think I would be more upset if it was a focal banger.
Oh, I have those in the fridge too. I had one the other day.
Those are nice.
Well, what had happened was, I went to the store the other day to pick up some beers on behalf of my dad. And I went to the craft beer refrigerator section of the store. It's a rather large beer store. And I got what he wanted.
What did he want?
He wanted for my sister's boyfriend graduated from the Coast Guard Academy. And so we were going to graduation party the other day, and my dad wanted a couple of 4-packs for his dad. And he drinks like So my dad really has grown to love the New England IPA specifically. And Perfect Fit, his dad also specifically Sloop Juice Bomb.
Sure.
So I went to get one of those and another New England IPA for my dad. They didn't have regular old Juice Bomb, but they had Juicier Bomb, so it was perfect.
Oh, twist.
Yeah. And I got, I think, Lord Hobo, Hobo Juice or Juice Lord or whatever the fuck it's called.
Mm.
And
Juice Lord.
I think it's Juice Lord, isn't it?
I don't know.
I think, whatever that one is. And
it's Lord Hobo.
I grabbed those two because they were in the same door, I think. Different shelves. They were in the same door. And I was going to walk away. And out of the corner of my eye, I was like, did I just see what I think I saw? And there was a facing of Hetty Topper, which is what I'm drinking right now. And there was a facing of Vocal Banger. I was like, I didn't think you could buy this in a store in New York. The last I had heard, you can't buy it outside of Vermont.
Huh.
So I'm obviously going to take my opportunity to buy a 4-pack of each because it's super expensive there.
How much was it? Was it priced up?
I don't want to
tell me. I gotta know.
I think combined it was like 40-something bucks.
Oh, that's not...
Or maybe $50. I don't remember.
That's honestly...
I forget because I bought two things, but it was like high 40s or low 50s, something like that.
I bought like a $24 4-pack of Magnify the other day, and it was absolutely worth it.
One of the two, I think the Juicier Bomb was like $22.
Yeah, that's insane.
4.
This
I get the prices are going up, and good craft beer is always going to be expensive, but that still seems obscene.
Yeah, it is obscene. Like you got when you break it down to the per can price, and it's like it hurts sometimes. But this one was called Orange Drink. Let me take 1 second. Let me pull it up real quick and tell you what was in it. Magnify our rank. Here we go. Smoothie style sour. Packed with blood orange, pineapple, and banana.
Ooh, the bananas.
And adding soda syrup.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
It was orange. It's like they were straight up orange soda. It's out. It's something else. You know when you have orange soda after never having orange soda for like years, and you're like, wow, this is delicious. I can't have more than 3 sips of it, but oh my goodness, I've forgotten all about you. It was like having orange soda for the first time.
I know we're talking about
not in
C4.
a long time. For the first time.
For the first time in a long time. Got it. I know we were talking about C4 earlier, and I really like the orange slice C4 because it literally tastes like orange.
Nice. Yeah, that is a good one. But Vocal Banger, nice. So you're consuming that. The other day, Elio was a little cranky, and nothing was calming him down. So I figured, you know what? I'm gonna sit down with him and I'm put a cartoon on. Give him like 10 minutes of just vegging out for a minute, like, calm him down. It ended up working, but didn't know what to put on. Didn't want to put on any of those like funky YouTube ones that are easily available. I was like, oh, I have HBO. HBO has all of the old Looney Tunes on. So I went to the Looney Tunes sections and I just hit play from the first one, which is like the original Looney Tunes, like the black and white weird mouse thing that is like a Mickey Mouse knockoff mixed with a cat. Like, I don't know if you recall this cartoon.
Oh yeah, I have seen 1 or 2 of those. I'm not a fan of that.
I was like, I haven't seen this in ages. Like, I had almost completely forgotten about it. So it was really fun to watch. He was super into it.
Really?
Which was a lot of fun. He pretty much likes anything, which is great.
Well, sure.
So that's nice. But yeah, we were.
Sorry, when you like highlighted, he was super into it. I was like, oh, okay, like that seems noteworthy. Not just like, oh yeah, whatever, something is on. Like,
no, he was like, I mean, he kept looking at it and like smiling and looking to me to make sure I was watching too, and like he was just like he was digging it. I think mostly the whistling and the music is what gets him. But I was like, this is great. Like I can't wait till we get to the good stuff.
Yeah, right.
But there's some funny stuff in there that I've definitely seen in the past. but I would never remember it without it being like recalled by watching it again.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of cool. What else are you consuming?
The Blood of Elves. There's probably a better way to say that.
So like the third book, fourth book, 18th book. What are you up to?
Yeah,
now?
the third book of The Witcher. I made some pretty dramatic progress since our last recording. I only have a couple of hours left of that. I hate measuring. That's what Audible does. So it was like a 10-ish hour book, and I'm down to the last like 2.5 hours or something like that, or 3 hours, something like that. But
cool.
It's been really good. I've
nice.
really dug how this one's unfolded, where it's much more linear in its narrative. It is a little jarring when they jump in a chapter to a totally different perspective. Usually I'm accustomed to a book finishing a chapter and then starting another chapter, but they tend to be either thematically or narratively tied together. So it's like sensible that one would go to that sort of thing. It's just, it can be a bit jarring, at least in audio form. If I was reading it, probably feel jarring to me, but it's been cool because they've now opened the field where we get to see some of the other major players, not just major characters, but like the last chapter I was just listening to was like this tete-a-tete between like the 4 major kings and queens of the continent or whatever, having this whole big debate together. It's actually pretty riveting to hear, considering we only ever occasionally hear like one of them named and maybe a bit of policy or something like that. We don't really get access to those characters in the books to this point, and scarcely in the shows either, other than like Calanthe, I found in the show. So I thought it was really cool. I finally feel like I got a little bit better understanding for what's going on in like the wider world of The Witcher and all, even though it was just like part of one chapter. So
sweet,
it's been good.
That's awesome.
It's been cool. So I've really enjoyed this one. I'm really looking forward to the next one. I would say like the first half of this mirrored pretty closely a lot of what happened in the second season, but then the second half of the book is not stuff really that's gone on in the show. It's stuff that like you would imagine would be kind of sort of going on in the background type of thing. Okay. But it's a lot of it. It's been more about what's going on in the world as it reacts to the fact that Nilfgaard began that whole invasion thing. But it feels like that's maybe what we would see like early in the next season of the show, I would think, before that war continues to progress.
Interesting.
I that's the gist of what I'm getting from it so far, but
sure,
I don't know. So that's why I'm curious to see what the next book goes, if they start to tie some of what we've already seen, because all the stuff with the elves going to Sintra, that's kind of sort of been referenced in the background, but not actually happened in the book.
You're right. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I feel like I would like to get to those, but you know me.
I do.
Books. Maybe one day. I just before we got on today, I watched the series finale. This Is Us.
Oh, it actually ended? I know the final season was on.
It was incredibly moving, and it's like, God damn you, and the heartstrings that you're pulling. It's just too much. It's just too emotional. But it had run its course maybe a season ago.
My mom gave up like 2 or 3 years ago.
But they did it good. They ended it well. They got the way that they tied it all up at the end, and a lot of the final episode is so throughout the series they jumps through time, and it's like the kids when they're younger, the kids when they're teens, the kids when they're older, when they're babies, before they're born. They're all over the place with it. But a lot of this final episode was at like a specific point in time when they were younger, and they must have shot those scenes a long time ago, because these kids that they've used to play them at this age were still that age. So they probably had this ready to go for a while, and like have this whole, and when you put it together and you see how every little thing was connected together, and the overarching story and how they go from the beginning to the end, like this was a very well planned out thing. And while maybe it went on a little too long, they could have tightened up portions of it. It is very impressive that they were able to pull it off the way that they did, especially when you take into consideration that aspect of it, having kids at various ages and showing them at those exact ages throughout the seasons means that they must have shot so much of that together, planning ahead for how the.
That's cool because you see so many of these really big shows, and I never had any interest in this show, but it undeniably was a sensation of television for the last several years. It's nice when they execute the finale pretty well, whether it all 100% goes the way you want it to or not, or whether the focus was exactly what you wanted it to be on. For them to have something planned out pretty concretely and be able to execute that plan, showing that sort of foresight and being able to get to that point effectively, that's really cool. It's nice to see that for people who enjoyed that show.
Yeah, it was cool. At the end, worth the ride, even if there were some bumps along the way. What else you got?
So last night I finally kicked off watching Severance. I watched the first episode.
Yeah, you did.
That's all I saw.
I'm sorry, what's all you saw? The first episode?
Yes.
Cool.
It was pretty damn good. Very odd. Definitely curious to see what's going on. Got Krugered a little bit during this episode because Petey was played by Yul Vasquez, who I've never seen in anything with the exception of watching Promised Land last year. Because apparently he's really good friends with John Ortiz, and John had him help get him cast as what was his brother in the present day storyline of that show. So it was just odd. I've never heard of this guy before that show, and then bang bang, this show. He's in that's both funny. Of them. So
strange how that happens.
Right? And that stuff happens all the time, right? Where you never seen anyone in anything before. You see someone who's like, oh, that's cool. Then you see him again like 6 weeks later in something else. It's like, how did you book these two major roles when I've never heard of you before?
Right.
And like they came out concurrently, basically.
Yeah.
But it was really cool. I'm definitely intrigued to see what's going on. The principle behind it, I was vaguely aware of, but to see it a little bit more clearly defined on screen now, I have to say, it's the level to which it goes is pretty extreme, right? But I think probably everyone has kind of sort of thought at some point or other, it'd be really cool if like just during work I could just worry about work, and while I'm at home I could just never.
Yeah.
And I get like that's the whole gist of this is work-life balance is not something that a lot of people have, and this is a way to do it, but it's probably a too dramatic way to do it. Certainly a surgery and the extent of it where it's like you forget about like you're not going to worry about it, like you just can't even access it. That's a little startling because obviously I'm sure this is going to get into a conversation as to how that can be abused. Like we saw it right off the bat here, so that's a very obvious downside to this sort of thing, right?
Man, I'm kind of envious of you being on that first episode and just being like, cool, this is weird. I get it's weird. What's next? And to not have any idea where it's going to unfold to over the next 7 episodes or so. It's a hell of a ride.
Well, I'm excited for you too. Like you and Kim are going to watch episode 10 any day now, right?
That's right. I'll say episode 10 now, please. It's so good. I'm really pumped. Maybe next time you're in town, I'll take you there. I'll take you to
Severance?
What's the company called? Something Lumen. I'll take you to Lumen.
Okay.
It's like
Lumen.
It's like 15 minutes away.
Fucking name.
Yeah.
Little cross-pollination between that and Dexter. Probably the best line in all of Dexter's history. Well, certainly, I'm gonna make it a Mount Rushmore line from that show. When was it Frank Weller? Welker? I forget his name. The guy who played RoboCop. Peter Weller? I don't know. Whatever.
Peter Weller. When
he's investigating Lumen for Quinn, and he goes, Lumen Pierce. Lumen. Stupid fucking name. In fucking his Peter Weller voice. Cracks me up every time.
That's a great. Oh, man. Yeah, so we're going to have to do a weekly check-in as you go through that series.
Yeah, tonight, if I had gotten home from work at a decent hour, I was planning on watching the second episode before recording, and I just flat out did not have time for that. So
sure, I get that.
But maybe tomorrow or Friday, it's a holiday weekend, so I might have some time to knock out a couple episodes.
Yes, I have continued on with Pitch Perfect while I've been cooking dinner, and it's just
cooking and pitching.
It's just a fantastic treat. And it's just they're so good. They're so fun, and I'm on to the third one, which I don't remember enjoying, but I'm enjoying it this time around. Maybe because the bar is lower for me, but it's also very funny. So it's definitely the third one goes over the top in a way that is completely unexpected and unnecessary. But I think at that point, it's like you can't. They've already done the show twice, the movie twice, so they can't do it the same thing a third. They can't just have another competition a third time, and so it goes into some interesting ridiculousness. But I just love those movies so much. They're just so I love the music. I love the singing, the jokes. It's fantastic. It's just really, really great. But I'll probably finish that over the course of the next 4 dinners or so.
Nice.
What else you got?
Well, the last thing I truly have for consumption is something that's a joint consumption. That's Better Call Saul's mid-season finale. So the only other aside I'll have is, as we always refer to, the patron saint of our show, Diane Kruger. I was watching Troy the other night.
Nice.
It was Sunday night. It was after we came back from Gianna's boyfriend's graduation party, and we were just kind of having a drink and some.
My cousin's sister's boyfriend's graduation party.
Yes,
got it.
Well, I didn't want to say his name on the show.
Yeah,
ever.
That's fine.
But anyway, we me and my parents, my brother, and my brother's girlfriend. Sorry to continue on that name game like that. We're just flipping through to watch the end of something I don't remember, and then me and my brother were just hanging out for a little bit. Right before my parents went to bed, they were like, "Oh, we're gonna go to bed because we don't want to watch it." They're on Troy, and Diane Kruger is obviously in Troy.
There she is.
Fantastic movie. If you've never seen it, have you seen it?
Of course.
We've ever discussed before.
I'm pretty sure it's the only reason I know who Diane Kruger is.
Troy, really?
Yeah.
Not
there's definitely something else I've seen her in.
National Treasure.
National Treasure, right? That's right. God.
I think for most people that would be the one. I think, right?
Troy is the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
But yeah.
Anyway, we were watching it, and my parents, did the thing where we're going to bed, but they don't actually get up for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But so we were watching it, and my mom's like, "Ooh, Brad Pitt." I was like, "Yeah, no, he's Achilles, kind of a big deal." I was like, "Oh." My dad's like, "Oh, hey, look, Brian Cox," because he loves Brian Cox, and who doesn't? And he asked me the question that he asked me every single time this man is on screen.
Oh my god.
What's that guy's name? Brendan Gleeson, Dad. It's Brendan Gleeson. He's in so many movies. Many of them my dad has watched, and every single time he's on screen in any of them, what's that guy's name again? Still Brendan Gleeson, Dad. In 8 different roles, he's asked me that question. Yeah. And a couple other, "Oh, hey, look, Sean Bean." I was like, "Yeah, no, the rare movie he doesn't die in, especially considering the time. This was the peak of his dying in every movie phase." And, et cetera, so on. My mom's like, "Who's that?" I was like, "Come on, Mom." She's like, "What?" I was like, "It's Diane Kruger." "Oh, that's Diane Kruger."
Hello, Diane.
Well, because every once in a while, something will happen, and I'll be like, "Oh, Diane Kruger." And she's like, "What's that again?" Because I explained to her what the whole Diane Kruger effect was. And I was like, "Mom, we were just talking about it the other day," because I'd actually never talked about it with my dad before. And I mentioned it to her. And my dad's like, "What are you talking about?" And I was like, "Okay, here we go."
Oh my god. The Diane Kruger, Kim is fully on board with it now, so she gets when I pull that one up. And you'll also appreciate this. Still going strong. I was making Elio some eggs in the morning.
The spice.
I went into the cabin and I was like, "What should I add? What spice?" I said out loud just to nobody, "What spice should I add today?" Because I try to expose them to different things. And just from across the room, you just hear.
Perfect.
So good. All right.
Saul.
So, what'd you say?
Saul?
Yeah, so for the listeners, if you're not up to date on the mid-season finale of Better Call Saul, we are going to be spoiling the shit out of it.
Which by the time this episode comes out, they should probably be caught up.
They should be, but fair warning, it's really good. So fair warning, if you don't want to hear it yet, you could skip to the next chapter, which will be the flick of the week.
This is one of those things where this is immediately going to go up on the list of episodes, right? Like of the best of the show. It's going to measure up among the best of the Breaking Bad ones, where where you're referencing episode title, right? Like Chicanery, season 3 of Better Call Saul, Ozymandias, final season of Breaking Bad, stuff like that.
Yeah.
This one was what's the plan and execution, I think?
Something like that.
Execution was definitely the final word. And this whole season, every episode title has been word and word. And word. Is it Black and Blue, Carrot and Stick? There was a bunch of them. This one, I think, was plan and execution. Phenomenal hour plus.
It really was. And there's so much intensity throughout it. There's like this certain style of the no dialogue, just watching the character on screen that they'll open an episode with. And they did that with this one, right? With Lalo coming out of a sewer. And
I was so confused. What a weird iteration of in media res. So
was I. I was like, this is so weird. And I was like, but I know at this point to know better. And I'm like, just take a deep breath, watch closely, and just enjoy what's happening. Just enjoy the artistry of what they're doing here. And then goes into the truck stop, takes a shower, comes back, goes into the sewer, closes the sewer, slowly walks through it. Oh, interesting. There's a couple of water jugs there. Clearly he's had this place set up. Sits in this chair, gets nice and cozy. I'm like, he's watching something outside of the sewer. And then to see that it's very calculated and planned, and how he can play the long game.
Yeah. I was confused at first because it looked like he was falling asleep standing up in the shower. Then he goes and takes a nap in his car. Then he immediately goes and sits on that chair, and it looked like he was leaning back to take a nap again. I was like, just go to sleep if you need to. And then until I realized they pulled out, and you see him sitting up on the ledge, and then I made the same realization. Oh, okay, he's posted up to be on watch here. Got it. But I was confused by that at first. I was like, what?
There was so much though to every little thing that he was doing in that scene that I loved. And I think maybe the thing that I took away the most from it was, yes, he goes back and he's falling asleep. He goes back to the car. He sets the timer for an hour to take a nap. He wakes up before the timer goes off. And I think that's such a cool moment, right? That he's the gears are turning. He's got this plan that he is executing perfectly. And he is a well-oiled machine. Even if there is a little bit of chaos in some of the way that he does certain things, he's like, I'm going to get this right. And it's going to be glorious. So much so that when he realizes
he got it wrong,
that the phone is tapped, he's like, son of a... the way that he snaps and destroys the chair and then takes a deep breath and gets his cool again, I loved it. I just love especially the psychoticness of the character is awesome.
Well, not just that, even more so, for someone who's, despite the fact that he is psychopathic, he will kill in an instant if he needs to, he's incredibly well controlled, which is not, I think, always super common for that sort of thing. But to see him lose his cool, one of the very few times we've seen him lose his cool. Even times where he's brutally killed people, he's done it in a controlled fashion. And this is the first time he seemed out of control.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty intense. To get that opening, though, which is cool, and then to see how... I also like when he gains his cool and shifts to another plan so fluidly that I was like, this is... I just love watching. I love watching him.
I wouldn't say all the execution of it has been perfect across the last couple of seasons, but overall, he is the perfect foil for Gus because he's the only person who can match him on the strategic level. Everyone else fights him tactically. Walt at the very end, because he finally finds the one thing that he can get under his skin with, but it took him that whole time. Everything else, he's kind of flailing and just gets by because he's too valuable to kill.
Right. Yeah, it's so interesting. I like to see, when he makes the call that he's going to go after the chicken man tonight, and to see the changing guard at the laundromat. I thought that was pretty cool. And then everything else going on. The whole Howard thing was amazing. Finally, pulling it all together. Okay, what is it that they're doing? We know that they've been slowly setting him up to come across as a druggie, to Cliff. And great. But like what's the big play? And they keep hinting that they're close to it and showing you, and you can look at the post-its and you can probably draw some conclusions. You understand that it has to do with this judge, and like, okay, but what is the play? And then to finally see it all come together of like faking a blackmail by hiring an actor so that it looks like that's who it was, and then the level deeper that the PI that Howard has hired to follow Jimmy is actually working with Jimmy, which I kind of suspected, but the way that they reveal it was awesome. And then when Howard pieces together how he actually pulled it off with the changing of the phone numbers in the system, I was like, this is so good, and also shows the length of time that went into it. Because like I feel like when you're watching it over the course of the season, they keep going back to their little their Arthur thing on the wall that they flip around that has all the post-its on it. And you get the impression that, yes, this is a long game. They're doing something over the course of a long period of time. It's a little hard sometimes to gauge how much time is passing. You just know that it's a long time. And now for it to be unveiling itself and you get to see all of the intricacies in the plan, you realize, okay, this was a really long game that they were playing. And that's why it makes sense that's why Kim is so frustrated when it's not going to work. And it's like, no, it's happening today. We're going to do it. We're going to fix it and make it happen with the judge whose arm was not broken in their pictures, but actually broken in real life.
It was so great. The guy who was the actor who they were dressing up to look like the judge is the guy he's worked with Odenkirk for a long time. He was on Mr. Show. He was on with Bob and David. He's a funny guy in those shows, and to see him play kind of like a silly character in a more serious show was cool to see that tandem get back together again. For me, the plot, I felt like I was like putting a puzzle, but I was missing a couple of pieces, and it was the center of the image, because I felt like I had the whole thing together, but I didn't know how it was going to come together in the end. Like, I was like, okay, they figured out who the judge is going to be, the mediator. They have an actor. They're obviously going to make it look like he's tampering with him. Check. They have the whole thing with the drugs. That they plotted out. They've already gotten the distrust of Cliff Main. Obviously, they want to sow division between those two to get this to settle quicker. Got it. You have the thing where they're going to like double up on the drug thing and like drug Howard somehow. Got it. But how are they going to get this past the private investigator?
That was the cool.
That was the part I couldn't see, because they didn't tip off in any way what that was going to be at any point. And for that reveal to be there at the end was pretty fascinating. When he hands off the package while he's driving, I was like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah, I know.
Because that was up until then. I keep thinking, I was like, "Man, all of these planes always go his way. This is gonna finally be." Considering this is the first one that they've involved Kim to this level. Even with the Huel one, it was not to this level.
Yeah,
her involvement. She had no personal stakes. If it didn't work out, it was not going to blow back on Kim in the least. She is really tangibly involved in this one on multiple levels, to the point where Howard has even noticed that she has to be involved because of the thing where she's out to lunch with Cliff Main. So I'm like, okay, this is finally where their luck runs out. And then when you see the investigator is clearly on their dime and not Howard's, or I guess technically getting paid by both.
Yeah, double dipping.
Or what was the line from the gentleman? Double bubble. Because I would get paid double bubble. That was when I finally was like, oh shit, they are going to get this to work. Which is also even more dire, because what is the fallout from this going to be? And it harkens back, you kind of knew this was going to be bad for Howard. When the Black and Blue episode, when Jimmy fights him, Howard beats the crap out of him. He comes back to Kim. She seems largely unsurprised and he says, why did I do that? And she says, because you know what comes next. Right there, we should have known how devastating this was going to be for Howard. It wasn't just going to be professional loss in the way that it was for Chuck. It was going to be a type of humiliation. And think about it, the last time they underwent a move this big was against Chuck in court in chicanery. Like the other episode I mentioned was one of the best episodes of the show, period. It ends with Chuck killing himself, right? Yeah. Ultimately. And this one ends not with Howard killing himself, but with him so broken and to the point where he doesn't really necessarily 100% care what happens, and he just ends up in the wrong place at the wrong time, and the result is still the same. He ends up dead, which was a shock.
I think the reveal there of like, okay, actually, before I even get there, so if I'm being fully honest, I have lost the thread a little bit as to why Kim is so adamant about tearing him down.
So, I mean, Howard addresses it in that final episode. I think probably because you, and to an extent me as well, and many other audience members probably were wondering why she's right.
Was it just because she was constantly overlooked and kind of she never really got what she deserved out of when she was working at HHM?
So here's the thing. I think Howard got it right finally in the end. It took his eyes being opened by how utterly he was destroyed. Those are just the justifications she's telling herself. She's doing it because she wants
to do it.
Because she likes it. And this is all along what I've been talking about Kim's Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
I guess the part I got slightly wrong was maybe she was bad all along and she's been trying to tell herself otherwise. She was like the opposite of Jimmy, where Jimmy, everyone thinks he's bad and he thinks he's good, and eventually he becomes bad because everyone told him long enough. Mm-hmm. Everyone has told her she's good all along, but deep down, maybe she knew that good wasn't what she wanted.
Right. Okay. So that makes it kind of makes sense.
And this is just allowing her to blossom and actualize in the way that is more natural to her.
Losing the thread is not that big of a deal because it's really not about the thread.
Well, I think really all along, all of these things, maybe it's death by 1,000 cuts, because no one of those things should have been that big of a deal. Or maybe you could look at it another way. Maybe this is the truest affirmation of the love of that she has for Jimmy, because all along, I've always been a little bit thrown by their relationship. It didn't make a lot of sense to me early on. Mm-hmm. Not that they were friends, but that they would fall in love.
Yeah. And
maybe this is just her truest testament to that love, that it's something that he needed. And so she did it for him. Yeah,
there's just... the thing, and then, like I said, it doesn't really matter so much because it doesn't change anything. But I am curious. Like there was I vaguely remember like there was a moment when they decide, when she decides that they're going to go after Howard. They're going to do this thing.
I think that the clearest thing was really when Howard after Chuck died and Howard, what was it? The letter of recommendation or the eulogy, or I forget what it was that he gave to Jimmy, and she didn't let Jimmy see it. And remember, there's that huge scene where she goes and accosts him. I think that's the moment she decided.
Okay, this is coming back to me. Yes, okay, that makes sense. So, okay, I can't fully remember. Do we know what's in the letter?
I think we did. I just don't remember what it was.
It was like 2 seasons ago, or.
Yeah, because it wasn't last season. It was a season. It was the end of the season before.
Yeah. Okay, that's coming back to me. That makes sense. But again, which is like it doesn't matter so much for where it's going. But I was just kind of curious. Like I kept thinking back. Wait, how did we get here again? Like, what was the thing?
See, I think it's all of the things that you and I have discussed, plus what Howard said, all that together. But I think the biggest thing is really this is she wants to. No, I think it's part that. I think it's part of the slights that Howard had at her expense. I think it's part that she gets off on it. I think it's part of this is closer to the natural thing that she realizes she can get away with these things because she is smarter than everyone else. But I think the biggest piece of all of them, I think all those things are true, but I think the most true thing is this is how she connects and loves Jimmy.
Yeah. No, that's fair. It's so now going back to their apartment after everything is done and they've ruined him, he comes to their house and knocks on the door, and I love that moment of Jimmy's like, well, I think it was Jimmy. Oh no, Kim's like, I guess we should get this over with, and he's like, yep, and gets up. Now, when there was the knock at the door, I was like, it would make sense that we believe that it's Howard because they're expecting him. Is Lalo coming now? Is this who's going to be behind the door? And it wasn't
Chekhov's protective watch, right? Where for the last several episodes, everyone's been complaining about Mike, putting a protective detail on them. And then finally we know it's kind of almost a throwaway line, right? Like we knew that Mike and a bunch of people left when Lalo told the thing about going with Plan B. Yeah. But it's the backup line of, I forget who said it, where we pulled everyone off the lower interest targets.
Yeah.
Where that's like, okay, this is how Lalo enters the fray here. it's a couple of different things, right? It's either he's going to go after Gus, or he's going to go after. I wondered if it was going to be one of those things. Does he blow up like one of his restaurants or something like that? Or obviously, it's most likely he goes to Jimmy. Now, I don't understand here why he would go after quote unquote like to kill Jimmy and Kim. They haven't done anything to him in that way. I mean, you could argue maybe he suspects that they had a role to play in the assassination attempt on him. But ultimately, they're more useful to him alive than dead, which is still not what Mike and Gus want, obviously. But I think that whole thing finally paying off was great. But I think it's even better where they set up the whole misdirection of, is it Howard? Is it Lalo? Oh, it's just Howard. No, it's not. It's also Lalo.
Yeah, that was the thing, right? So the way the candle flickers, the doorknob,
playing that off twice was.
And
really
I was
cool.
like, okay. So I was like, they think we're gonna do a gotcha. Like they're going to assume Howard's gonna be there. It's gonna be Lalo. They open the door. Howard's there. I was like, oh. And as soon as I went, I went, oh no. And like I pieced it together like long before he came in. I was like, Lalo is still going to come. And Howard's going to be there, and that's not going to be good. And sure enough, the candle flickers again, which was a great move, but more violently.
Yes.
When it flickers.
Yeah, that was really cool to pay that off twice in that scene.
Yeah, that was intense. And then also, I think it's devastating, right? Because I do think that when Howard is like, why? And like giving his whole speech, like, why me? Like, why are you coming after me? Like, it could be this, could be that, but like, really, that's not enough of a reason. So why are you coming at me? And then for him to start being like, basically wearing his heart on his sleeve, like, so I've gone to therapy and I brush myself off and I do this and I pick myself up and I've been living in the guest house for a year. My marriage is falling apart, but Howard picks himself back up. And you see the tonal shift in Kim's face where she's like starting to like, she's like, I didn't know that happened. Like, and like,
which I like that they paid off that too. That's good because I'd be curious to see if that comes up in any way of their remorse. Obviously they didn't want him dead. And obviously both of them are both shocked. They didn't expect someone to be murdered in front of them. And two, they didn't want him dead. No, they didn't die that way. They knew he doesn't deserve that.
Yeah.
Even if they felt in some way, shape, or form they could justify him deserving everything they did to him, they didn't want him to end that.
Yeah. And I think there was something really interesting. So Lalo, well, first off, super creep show, right? No, continue.
Anytime he does the big creepy grin.
And like slowly putting the silencer on the gun. When he shoots Howard in the head, I think they make a very specific point of his head hitting the coffee table on the way down, similar to Chuck's head hitting the counter at the right. And it's just like it's like not enough. Like he's not only wrong place, wrong time, shot in the head, and we just need to go this extra step. Like really, like brutal. Like he is like this character. Like let's get the point across. Like did not deserve. Like if you still feel like he deserved it, he like did not deserve this. And like I feel like there's just like it's layered and it's just like more like violent as like the 2-second scene is going on. It just gets violent as it hits the ground. And I just there's like that through line of like the things that Jimmy is doing is resulting in these things happening. Whether he realizes it or not, which like to some degree he will blame himself and some degree he won't. He'll make excuses. But then to your point, everybody's telling Jimmy that he's bad his entire life. So like it makes sense that he becomes that way. Like self-fulfilling prophecy almost, right?
Yep.
Like, but
exactly.
I feel like that the head hitting the table was like that, like just connecting these two dots. Like, yes, he's not all bad. Like the world has made him this way. But these two things are really results of his action.
Oh, it's a thudding punctuation on the fact that you can't go back.
Yeah,
you've finally gone
super
officially too far. I also think, in the moment that Howard dies, or in the lead up to him dying, he stumbles across the answers, but you can see it doesn't really resonate with him, his own culpability in all of this. Now, we could go in a couple of tiers here. he does not deserve to die.
Mm-hmm.
You can argue he doesn't deserve the comeuppance he gets. You could say maybe he deserves some of it, not the extent of it. Did they go too far? Probably. But he deserves some of it. And, he rips the two of them for being soulless, having a piece missing. But he doesn't understand his own sense of all of that. His crime was being a little bit too cold and callous and arrogant.
Yeah.
Because he says it. He says the thing and throws it away amongst the other things that he's just reading off of a cue card. And I don't mean that to criticize the writing or the performance in any way. Just I'm talking about the character here. The character hasn't despite his extolling the fact that he went to therapy and him trying. His trying has still been half in, half out. Yes, he continues to go to therapy, but it doesn't really feel like he's engaging with it in a real level, right? And maybe that's not fair of me to judge. I don't know, but I mean, I don't feel too bad about it because it's a fictional character, but maybe it's not fair of me to judge, but it doesn't seem like he's really engaging with the process. It almost feels like he's going through the motions. Yeah. And, because he says, oh, maybe, what, should I have pushed back harder against Chuck when he was coming down on you? And then just throws it away like all the other things he throws away. It's no, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Right? It may be not the only thing, but it's the truest representation of what is wrong with you and why you are really no better than them. Chuck was doing something objectively wrong to Jimmy all those years. And you had the chance to stand for what was right, and you chose not to because it was inconvenient.
Yeah.
So, do you deserve to die? No. Do you deserve the level of financial and career ruin and that was done to you? No. But you deserve punishment as well.
Something. Yeah. Yeah. It's a heavy show, but really just so well done. Is what we come to expect at this point. I'm super pumped to see how they wrap this all up.
Especially, we finally got a little nod to it at the end where it fades to black and white, and you get a little narration. Do we finally get in the back half some of that, what we've been craving, some of that future Gene in Nebraska stuff?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, yes, I'm assuming that we're gonna have to. This is Saul's story. We're gonna get the end of it, I would imagine.
Better Call Gene. Got it.
Better Call Gene. Oh man. Sweet. Well, we'll check back in on that once it returns sometime in the end of the summer.
I think mid-July.
Oh, okay. So not that far. Cool.
Yeah,
with that,
6 weeks.
Let us get into our flick of the week. Monty Python and the Holy Grail, released in 1975, rated PG with an hour and 31-minute runtime. Your IMDb synopsis. King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table embark on a surreal, low-budget search for the Holy Grail, encountering many very silly obstacles. Very great.
Accurate.
Perfect description of the movie. Al, kick me off with your hot take.
A surreal, borderline incoherent, parodic masterpiece. Sorry, the man who was writing this review has been fired. 8 out of 10.
What'd you say? Score?
8 out of 10.
Right on. Short and simple on this side. A masterclass in unadulterated nonsense. 9 out of 10. I cannot believe I've gone this long without seeing it.
I couldn't believe it either, because it's been... I don't know if I've ever watched it all in one go. Actually, I know for a fact I've never watched it all in one go. I've seen chunks of it a bunch of different times. In high school, when you take an AP class and you take the AP exam in early mid-May, and then you have nothing to do for the last month of school. In one class, the teacher was like, "Hey, what do you guys want to do? Just let me know. We'll figure it out. Maybe we'll learn a little bit once or twice here and there, but we're mostly just gonna let you fuck off and do whatever you want because it was a tough class." Mm-hmm. So we did that, and one of the things is I have a bunch of different movies, throw them on some of these days when we don't have a good plan. So they put on Monty Python. We all really enjoyed it, but it took us 2 or 3 classes to get through the whole thing. So we watched it over the course of 3 consecutive days, but it wasn't all in one batch exactly. So, and that's really the last time I saw a substantial chunk of it. So it's been almost 15 years since I've really seen the movie, other than occasionally stumbling across the Black Knight scene, because that's really probably the best one.
So wait, sorry, which scene?
The Black Knight, the one with the Black Knight who's guarding the bridge.
Oh yeah, that's fantastic.
That's the one that's probably most often like referenced in popular culture.
You know what's funny? I didn't realize, and I'm sure I know it's probably said in like other movies and things like that, but I will very often, like playing a video game, playing a board game, whatever, like usually it's something comically competitive, I will say "have at you," and I think I may have gotten it from there at something like because I had seen clips and I had also seen Spamalot. Okay. So like there was a lot of this wasn't new to me, but it was the OG version of it, so it was pretty cool. But that is a wonderful.
I thought you were gonna reference there when you were saying that. I thought you were gonna say it's only a flesh wound.
It's only a flesh wound. It was just also. Are you kidding me? The whole thing is really is nonsense. What's amazing to me though, so unfortunately I had to break it up into 3 viewings, just the way that my week worked, and I will say like even if I had watched it, it would have been a consistent hour and 30 minutes of a chuckle. Like it's just funny all the way through, and they do something. They do what they'll Family Guy it a little bit. They'll overdo it. Make it funny again. For example, Lancelot running towards the castle after he received the message that
was so good.
He's running towards the castle, and then they zoom back in on the 2 knights standing outside the castle guarding, looking off and seeing him running towards them. And when they keep cutting back to him running really up far the field. Away. But he keeps running from the same part of the field, up the same length of the field. Yes, they kept looping
the same exact scene where he starts at the exact same thing almost over the horizon and then getting to like fully established in the foreground, but still very far away. And they cut 5 times back to it, and each time it's clearly looped because he's coming from the same spot almost over the horizon.
And it's not even just the visual, like the sound is looped too. Like everything. Yes. It's exactly the same. And I was like, okay, after the 3rd one, I'm like, how many times are they going to do this? Then the 4th one. Then the 5th one, then the 6th one, then he's there and he stabs one of them, and I was like, "What? Yeah. Wait, what?" It's just so excellent, just a wonderful execution of nonsense. Like it's almost like I feel like if you watch like random clips of like a robot chicken, like somehow they made this cohesive story.
Seth really must be a huge fan of this movie because there are a lot of the same DNA in Robot Chicken as in this movie, and it's hard to say there's any other movie that's quite like this. Like at least ones that like performed well. I'm not saying I have no idea what the box office was like on this. I can't imagine it's huge, but it's a huge, massive cult success.
Yeah,
and that doesn't happen with a movie that because really, like some of it's by design, but some of it's like really kind of shouldn't work. Like it's very obviously disjointed, and it's hard to pick out the places where it's like, okay, this was intentional, this was accidental. And yet somehow, like, the foibles actually make it better.
Yeah, it does. Sorry, I pulled up the box office numbers on IMDb, which make the way that they're listed makes no sense. But it's £229,000 is the estimated budget. Okay. Opening weekend, U.S. and Canada, $45,000. But it says June 17th, 2001.
That is confusing.
That doesn't make any sense. Gross U.S. and Canada, $1.8 million. So
I wonder if that was a re-release.
Maybe. But yeah. So all these like, but to do this, right? To have like, oh, we have this joke we want to do. We have this joke we want to do. We have this joke we want to do. But to also stitch together a cohesive story, like of like what they're like, there is a through line, cohesive-ish. But like. By design, like that, it's kind of clunky. I feel like, and
well, that's what I'm saying. It's hard to pick out what's intentional and what's accidental.
Right, and I am so curious. Like as far as writing this movie goes, where does it? Do they write the arc and then do these ridiculous things along the way, or did they have these ridiculous skits they want to do and then find an arc to lay on top of it?
I'm sure some of it is a bit of both, but my guess would be, considering the way that it's ultimately delivered to you, I'm guessing they wrote out this whole epic movie, realized they were going to get a third of the funding that they needed, and they're like, okay, let's just shoot the absolute best sketches, and then we'll fuck around and figure out how to stitch together the rest. Because some of it was literally delivered through like an image on screen of like the flipping of pages of a book.
Well, yeah, so that's the other thing, right? The style-wise, like to mix this ridiculous movie with all these animations too.
Yeah, or cartoon like montages.
Oh my god! And then one of my favorite, I think maybe one of my favorite things. I'm probably going to say this a number of times throughout this episode, but will be when they're fighting the monster in the cave, and the reason that they are able to continue on their journey is because the animator died.
Yeah,
that's the storyline. The animator died, so now the monster doesn't exist anymore, which is brilliant.
Yes,
it really is. It's just so funny because it's so aware of how ridiculous it's being, and I think that's what ends up making it so funny because like on top of like okay like you've told me you're aware that you're being ridiculous, yet you will also commit to the bit as if you're taking yourself seriously, like. And for an example, the horses, right? Riding the invisible horse is fantastic. Having somebody follow to make the sounds with coconuts, even better.
Absolutely.
The absolute perfection comes into play when there's loud noises and they all pretend that their horses are afraid.
Or the bushes where they
dismount
from their horses.
Yeah, the dismount is also amazing. Oh my god! But it was really
also. I was gonna say another one of those things in the same way where it's like kind of like a background stupid thing where it's like if this was a real production, like it would have been a thing, but because it's not. But then we break the fourth wall. Some is, well, it was the same thing going back to the whole Lancelot getting the note from what he thinks is a damsel in distress about how he's being held against his will and forced to marry. And he fires an arrow randomly out the window, and it seems to travel about 37 miles, and it hits his horse.
Yep.
/ like square in the chest. He goes, "A message, my lord."
Yeah.
As he sinks to the ground. And he comes and takes the arrow out of his chest to read the message, and he goes, "Oh, it's such a shame that you've died." He goes, "Actually, I feel pretty good.
I'm alive."
So unfortunate that you're mortally wounded here. No, I think really if you just give me a second, I'll probably be able to regather. Surely you'll have to stay here and rest as I go and send for help.
And then he just wanted to play the hero and run in all on his own, and he does, and then he like murders like 40 people on his way up to the tower. Of 40 people at a wedding. It's the original Red Wedding.
Yeah.
Which is...
But like with Benny Hill music underneath it.
Actually, that's another shtick that I loved so much was the father locking the son in the tower and telling the guards to stand watch and don't let him leave. That was a
Family Guy joke.
That was really good, though. And then the moment... And in the Family Guy aspect of it is when... Just when like it's all explained perfectly and the guy recites it back perfectly, and you're like, okay, thank God we're done with this. But then they try to follow him out of the room. I'm like, oh my God.
I was getting so much anxiety during that scene.
So good. So good. And then every time the son tries to sing, no, not like that.
From off screen, from out of the room, he just busts in to stop the song over and over again.
There was one. Oh, actually, I have this down here. My favorite thing may be the Knights Who Say Knee.
Oh my god, it's so fucking stupid. And yet it's also one of the most perfect distillations of the stupidity of this.
Yeah,
like the funny stupid of this
It
movie.
Shouldn't be funny.
It shouldn't be.
But it is hilarious. And I think, like, again, like, it builds. Because, first off, they're saying it, and for whatever reason, it's physically affecting.
Yeah, they start shrinking and cowering, right? And like wincing each successive knee that's said.
When they return with their shrubbery, they are no longer the Knights Who Say Knee, but the Knights Who formerly said knee, which was a great callback. But when he goes, we're no longer the Knights Who Say Knee, one of them in the background goes, knee? I
don't think I noticed that.
And just so absurd, and I can't even remember what they say now.
Well, I would say actually, even going back, what's great is okay. They're the knights that say knee, and everyone knows about them, and it's terrible and it's horrifying. But no one else has thought to deploy the power of the knee.
Yeah,
even the knights outside of the knights who say knee, except when they go back to some random shit town to get a shrubbery, and they say that they're coming on behalf of the knights who say knee, and the old woman's just, oh god,
yeah.
And some other guy comes up and goes, what horrible times? What's this world come to when random strangers will say knee to a poor old lady? It's like, hang on a second, we're just trying to get this shrubbery. He goes, oh well, yeah, no, I make shrubberies. Can you give us one? No. Knee. Ah!
Yeah.
And they come back. I don't remember. Did they said something? Was it nay or something like that, or nigh? I don't.
No, it's like some really long, ridiculous thing.
And he goes. We're not going to call you that. Oh, knights who formerly said knee.
Yeah, that was great.
Some other 15-syllable long thing
to only unveil that they, if you say the word "it," they cowered the same way that everybody, and that whole back and forth of how can I stop saying it if I don't know what it is? Then I'm saying,
no, you said it again.
Saying it again. He's saying it. Now I'm saying it. I've said it 3 times. And I don't know what it is about that stupidity that it just resonates.
So of the stupid call and response jokes, actually my favorite one was, and I don't remember the names. I don't know if it was Gawain or if it was which of the other knights it was. Who was the one who was supposed to be the bravest of them all?
Sir Robin.
Oh, maybe it was Sir Robin. Yeah, Sir Robin with his favorite minstrel, and the minstrel singing the song about his
Robin
brave heroics.
Turns his tail and runs.
Well, but it starts with him singing these the epic songs of how brave and true and courageous he is, and it's like, okay, this is getting ridiculous, but somehow he just continues on this song in a running sentence, and then they flee from that weird 3-headed monster thing, and he turns into the thing. So Robin turns and flees and runs to save his hide.
Yeah.
This thing. He goes, shut up! That's not how it happened. But he just keeps following him and keeps singing it every time he shows up. And it's like, how hasn't he killed him at this point? He just keeps coming up with more clever ways to keep talking about how much of a coward he is.
There's a lot of great one-liners within that stuff too, and one of the things I wrote down a very specific quote that I don't know why, but I burst out laughing. I think it was mostly the delivery, and also it was an obscure thing to call somebody. But when the knights are at the mouth of the cave and the beast is there, and the beast is that little rabbit. Mm-hmm. One of the knights goes to whatever the guy is with the horns. He's like, you tit, I soiled my armor. I was so scared. And just the idea of just calling him a tit for some reason was so funny to me. And then only to find out that the bunny...
British thing.
Yeah. But only to find out that the bunny is a murderous fiend.
Well, such a tremendous thing is okay, it's funny, it's a rabbit, and I'm sure, we're going to find that this is one of those things where the setup is that it's not actually that intimidating. But then the way they do it, which is so ridiculous, so bad puppetry, but also is so egregiously, unnecessarily violent, it's hysterical. I was dying laughing as this thing is eviscerating this fucking coterie of knights, and it's super bloody and gory. It's the only bloody and gory scene in the whole thing, really, other than the fight between the Black Knight and the other hedge knight, and when King Arthur ultimately chops up the Black Knight. I love the whole side quest right at the peak of that whole thing. The side quest to go get the holy hand grenade of
I guess something
littering and the holy hand grenade of Antioch.
Oh god.
And then they have the whole instruction manual, that the stupid reading of the instruction manual. Thouist shall, on the count of 3, not on the count of 1 nor of 2, nor of 4, nor on the count of 5. 6 is too much, nor on the count of 7. 3, the count being 3.
I
get on with it.
Not on 2 unless that 2 is preceding 3.
Yes, not on 2, unless that Taoist shall go on from 2 to 3. And then Arthur, for some reason, can't count to 3. He keeps counting to 5.
Yo, I don't understand. Like, I feel like I was wondering, did I miss something earlier on? I spotted him doing this at least like 4 times in the movie, but like, was there like an original part in the movie where he's confusing 5 and 3 that I'm forgetting about?
I don't remember. I just know in that sequence he does it a couple of different times.
Yes. 1, 2, 5, 3, 3.
Well, then later he says, the 5 of us. No, the 3 of us, sir.
I fought in your general direction.
Oh my god, the French soldier is tremendous. He also has one of the other most quotable lines of the movie that I've heard a million times. That I heard a million times before I ever saw the movie, and when I saw it, I was like, oh god, he said it. He goes, your mother was a hamster and your father smelled of elderberries.
Yeah. Now that was John Cleese also, right?
Was it?
I think so. I know he plays multiple characters in the movie.
Well, they all do, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, John Cleese plays the shaman or witch or whatever what he was, wizard. He plays the Lancelot, and he plays a couple other characters too, I think. But I couldn't remember. I actually couldn't tell between the accent and the helmet and the mustache who that was. It might have been him. The shape of the face was about right.
Another favorite of mine was the bridge. Was it the Bridge of Death?
The Bridge of Death that was over the Gorge of Peril.
Yeah. And the whole, you have to answer these questions 3. It's like, what is your name?
Oh, that's what it was. He goes, we have to answer 5 questions. 3, my lord.
3, my lord. What is your name, Sir Lancelot of Camelot? What is your quest? I seek the Holy Grail. What is your favorite color? Blue. You may pass. And he runs.
Oh, that's not so bad. And they're all like, oh, that's not so bad. They all run to get in line. What was the question they asked? The third question, he goes, the same thing.
What is the capital of something?
Yeah, what's the capital of Iraq or something? Was that what it was?
I don't even remember.
And then kills him. And then it's great. That was actually probably, of all of the stupid jokes that they set up and pay off at the end, asking the question about how many pounds or how fast can a swallow fly, and he asks back to him, is it a European or an African swallow? Yeah. And the bridge keeper dies. And it's like, sir, how do you know so much about these things?
A king must know.
It's such a great callback to earlier on when they're trying to get into the first castle to talk to whatever knight it was or lord, and the 2 idiot guards on top of the wall who keep asking about, where'd you get the coconut from? Again, breaking the 4th wall of the whole coconut guy, like doing the horse clopping sound. He goes, I just found it. What are you talking about? Well, how did it get here? Those aren't native to England. I don't know. Maybe a bird brought it. It's been often well known that swallows can migrate back and forth. That coconut's entirely too large for a European swallow. I think if all these the airspeed of a swallow, how many times they have to beat its wings? What's the weight it could carry? Could we possibly string a line between 2 swallows to carry 1 coconut? That's all. To pay that off at the end with the Bridge of Death, that was just obscene. And also within that sequence, the one night where they ask him what his favorite color was, he gets it wrong.
Yeah, because he just answers what the other guy answered.
Yeah, he goes blue.
I mean,
he goes, wait, no, it's not. It's green, and then he dies. Why would he?
So stupid. The other thing that we haven't touched on is the modern day detectives trying to figure out what's going on from scene to scene.
Such a stupid interlude.
I think that whole thing is stupid, except it has 2 incredible payoffs. So early on when they did it, I was like, this is dumb. I don't care. But the first big payoff.
The first time when the narrator gets killed, that was funny.
No, that was funny. But the thing that really the thing that made me laugh was when Lancelot is being patted down, but they don't know where he is. And he's like hands on the cop car and they're patting him down. That really got me. And then 2, to really lean into it, round everybody up at the end so that before they could storm the castle, and then just end the movie was chef's kiss.
Yeah, because during the interlude, it's just like, okay, haha, they're doing a murder investigation.
Yeah. I should clarify. Not end the movie. End the movie as if they've run out of budget, but then continue on for 3 minutes with a loop soundtrack and no credits. Because the credits were at the beginning of the movie.
That's true.
So there's nothing at the end. It's just a black screen for 2.5 minutes while music plays.
Well, they had already licensed the music.
It's amazing. The credits got me too.
I know. I've seen the opening credits one time, so I totally forgot. At first I thought because I was watching it on Netflix on like the main TV and like the family room.
I had the same thing. I thought I had the subtitles on.
Well, specifically because my sister watches with the subtitles. I don't. So I was like, oh, she left the subtitles on and they're in Swedish?
Yeah.
And I was like, I literally paused, clicked on the thing, and it was like, okay, no, it says English and the subtitles are off. Did Netflix play a joke and like upload a bootleg? I was like, oh, this just must be a part of the movie. And the movie's literally trolling us, and I totally forgot about all of this. And then he gets the whole thing about, I'm so sorry about the subtitles being incorrect. We fired the crew who did the subtitles.
I had the same thought, but it was Swedish, and then I was like, Swedish, because then I realized I could read it, and it was like just being silly, and it was using
At first it was really Swedish, and then eventually
it changes.
It's like not Spanglish, but Swedenglish.
Swinglish. Ingweed.
Oh wow,
English.
The sequence with God was pretty funny, where they have the weird animated like South Park talking head thing, where like the mouth moves like that. I love, or was it, actually, I don't remember. Is it God or is it supposed to be St. Peter?
Oh,
do they ever actually say it's God?
I don't remember. I feel like they said it was God. Yes, they said it was God because God specifically told them to go on the mission. And
that's right. Okay, but that's later. It was like a later scene where he saes like God himself like told us to do this or whatever. But that scene was pretty funny, especially when he goes, "Oh, that's actually a pretty good idea." He goes, "Duh, I know." It's like, well, yeah, it's God's idea, dipshit. Like it. There's the scene with the witch burning was great. Just the twisted logic, the bastardization of the transitive property, where if a duck can float and a witch can float, then a witch weighs the same thing as a duck. And that whole twisted logic, which is hysterical, but like, even though it was horrible process, they get to the right answer.
Mm-hmm.
But the scale shows that the woman and the duck weigh the same.
Yeah.
They go and burn her.
Witch. Oh my god. That's so
she turned me into a newt. She turned you into a newt. I got better.
When they were in the cave, and I forget, one of the knights is like, and it's like, it's like not that surprising. No, as in, oh, you mean,
No, Arg. Maybe they're talking about the kingdom of Arg.
Man, this was an absolute treat. I am curious, have you seen many of their other things?
No, I've never seen any of the, I've seen the odd clip or two from other stuff, but not enough to talk about really. This is the only one I've seen substantially.
I'm curious if I should spend my time on some of those other.
There's a bunch of them. The only other one that I know by name is Life of Brian.
Isn't there Meaning of Life also?
Maybe.
Let me see if I can pull up what they've got here.
Is that the Life of Brian, or maybe it's just the Meaning of Life?
That is one, for sure.
Okay.
Monty Python's Flying Circus. Life of Brian.
I've heard of that one.
The Meaning of Life. It's old. Meaning of Life. Life of Brian. Is that really? Maybe that's. Is that it? I feel like there would be more than that.
I thought there was a couple of other odds and ends, but I think those are like the movies.
Okay.
But yeah. I don't know.
What is Monty Python, like a comedy troupe?
I think so.
Okay.
I think it's that group of guys. I think they're in all. It's Terry Gilliam and John Cleese and I forget the other guys' names, but like those are the two big ones. Terry Gilliam's directed a bunch of stuff. John Cleese the most famous actor of all of them. So Graham Chapman, the guy who played King Arthur, Eric Idle, who I think was in A Fish Called Wanda with John Cleese. Isn't he in it? I think actually maybe two of these guys might have been in it.
Oh, okay. Man, John Cleese and Rat Race.
Oh, I know. I was watching that not too long ago.
Commence, start moving. Technically, Mr. Schaefer is winning, and you've all been racing for about 30 seconds now, and technically Mr. Schaefer is winning because he's nearest to the door. That's it. Go.
You can't just give away $2 million. Of course I can. I'm eccentric. The only other sketch I think we didn't really touch on in this one, which early on was kind of aggravating to me, and then I thought had a really funny payoff, was I forget which of the knights goes to the castle where it's all of the it's like the convent basically.
Oh, that's like right.
The virgin women, and there's always this miscommunication, and the men never stick around, and he's like so like got such a fervor for finding the Grail because he thinks he sees it in like a hallucination over the castle, and it turns out that someone turned on the chalice,
the
like,
Grail-shaped
torch or something
chalice.
like that. The Grail-shaped chalice, whatever it was, and there's all this innuendo around it, and then when he finally realizes, oh wait, the Grail isn't here, and all of these, I literally have to fuck my way through this entire room full of like gorgeous virgin women. And then all the other knights come up to save him, and he goes, no, really, I'm quite okay. No, don't worry, we'll cover your escape, as two of them are willing to die so that they can drag him out because he has a small wound. He goes, I think I'll be okay, guys. No, as they're dragging him, kicking and screaming from the...
It's so silly. So silly. I love it. Well, thank you for bringing this one to my attention.
I'm glad that we were able to do it. I'm glad that you were able to... I'm glad that the last 2 weeks I was able to impart upon you two of the great older comedies, I think, between this and Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
Oh, right. Yeah, we did Reservoir Dogs last week, so I was like...
Oh, sorry, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, for sure. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Well, that's all for this week's episode of Flix in a Six. We hope you enjoyed it. As always, if you have a movie for us to review or nuggets for us to discuss, you can send those requests to flixinasix@thespintune.com. Tune in next week for more movie and beer goodness. Until then, I'm Anthony Costanzo.
I'm Al Biolsi.
Thanks for coming out.